A fourth of the season has come and gone, and there remains just 4 unbeaten teams in the Big Ten Conference. While the other 3 play at the friendly confines of their home turf this weekend, the Michigan Wolverines set foot on the tarmac for the first time this year and took off for a daunting environment that is Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City for a showdown with the Iowa Hawkeyes and their steel curtain defense. What this Iowa team is all about, it's no secret, folks. The Iowa defense is the real deal, and so is the 69,000 plus that will be in full force in a stripe-out effort, which paints Kinnick with shades of black and gold. However, there is a prominent tint of maize and blue that traveled to the eastern side of Iowa to see the reigning Big Ten champions defend their title against the very school they accomplished that feat against last December. Michigan proved they were human last weekend in a 1-touchdown victory over the Maryland Terrapins for their Big Ten opener. However, a road challenge will be a true testament to what this year's Wolverines are all about. Jim Harbaugh and Michigan get loose on the surface below as we get you ready for Michigan and Iowa with WCBN's presentation of Michigan football with Zach Linfield here with you from Iowa City. Adam, it's been heard all week long that the Iowa defense is the real deal, and there's no doubt about it. Just 23 points allowed through 4 games is an incredible statistic. But another thing for sure, Iowa hasn't seen an offense as prominent as Michigan's. The Wolverines average the most points per game in the country through their first 4, and this is a heavyweight offense-defense matchup that fans pay to see.
You're absolutely right. About 23 points. For those doing the math at home, that's a tad under 6 points a game, weighed down by the shutout and then the 3-point opener for Iowa. Even the game they lost, it was only 10 points given up. So what does that mean for Michigan in the outlook of this game? They need to go out and get at least 2, ideally 3 touchdowns. If they break the 20-point threshold, the game's out of reach at that point, in my opinion. I feel like that's what Michigan needs to do, is just get points on the board. They're the highest scoring offense in terms of points per game, averaging an even 50 in the first 4. Obviously, against the number 1 scoring defense in the nation, no one's expecting Harbaugh or the Wolverines to hang 50 in this one. But if you get over 20, I'd say this game is as good as settled.
J.J. McCarthy showed some flaw in the win last weekend against Maryland, yet still up a pretty efficient stat line, which included 2 touchdown passes, one on the very first play of offense on the game after Ty Felton muffed the opening kickoff. His inability to make the quick decision and protect the football has been an issue in his first few starts, but the youngster, Adam, he has something to prove today in a daunting environment, something Cade McNamara was able to do very well last season in environments like Penn State, Michigan State, Nebraska.
I feel like this season is very similar. It rhymes with last season. Big Ten opener last year was Rutgers. This year it's Maryland. Second game of both seasons was a tough environment on the road with Wisconsin, and then now the Hawkeyes here. Both of them Big Ten West schools, both of them big programs. And as we saw with Cade kind of coming out of his shell against Wisconsin, same thing's going to have to happen with JJ.
Today marks the first true road test of the season for the Wolverines, and it's in a place they haven't won since 2005. Michigan has dropped each of the last 4 games played here in this very stadium, including that 2016 heartbreaking last-second loss on a walk-off kick by Keith Duncan in Iowa, storming the field on the turf below. How much does this atmosphere come into play for a team that travels for the first time in this 2022 campaign?
It is essential. Being on the road is so different than being at home in the big house. Having 110,000 fans on your side supporting you is great, but what happens when you have to go to the Horseshoe after Thanksgiving? That's going to be a road game, and this is the first test in my mind of that. You mentioned how Michigan has not won in Iowa City in over 15 years now. I am reminded by Harbaugh's pregame quote where he said, Kinnick Stadium is where top 5 teams go to die. Michigan knows that all too well, and they're just going to try and avoid that fate today. Obviously, this Iowa team is not as highly built as they have been in the past, even as recently as last year. But Michigan is going to have to come out strong, and they're going to have to just keep their eyes on the prize in this one.
As you mentioned, Adam, 5 of the last 6 times that a top 5 team has come in here to Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, that top 5 team has lost. Penn State, the only ones able to knock off the Hawkeyes in an environment like this, and that includes that 2016 loss with Michigan led by Wilton Spate and Jabril Peppers alongside Jake Butt. But as we talk about this Michigan football team, their defense is very strong as well. Michigan's defense ranks number 8th. Although Iowa at number 1, the defense for Michigan is a strong suit as well.
Yeah, you're correct. I think some of that ranking might just be kind of weighted down by the cupcakes they had to open the season. You look at Hawaii, you look at UConn, Colorado State. All 3 of those teams are the 15 worst programs in the nation. So I wouldn't put too much weight in. But even last week, you're looking at that Maryland offense, who's one of the best in the country, certainly top in the Big Ten and the top couple of programs. And Michigan was able to contain them to a decent amount of points. And even with that last second touchdown to make it a little bit closer, Michigan's defense stepped up when they needed to. They got the turnovers. They kept going.
As we near kickoff between Michigan and Iowa here at Kinnick Stadium, let's take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard. I'm Zach Linfield. Only 2 other noon Eastern kickoffs in the Big Ten this weekend as Purdue travels to newly ranked Minnesota after their stomping of MSU last weekend. And Illinois visits Camp Randall Stadium in the Wisconsin Badgers, who look to recover after their blowout loss to Ohio State. Big kickoff in the SEC at noon as number 7 Kentucky heads to Ole Miss to square off with Lane Kiffin's 14th ranked Rebels. The Wildcats getting 6.5 points on the road for a battle of 4-0 squads. In a big what could have been matchup between top 10 teams after Arkansas fell last weekend against Texas A&M, the Hogs host the 2nd-ranked Crimson Tide of Alabama at 3:30 Eastern, with Nick Saban's crew laying 14 points against number 20 Arkansas from Razorback country. Back to the Big Ten for a trio of conference matchups this week, and we start with the in-state rival Michigan State. The Spartans secondary has been exposed in back-to-back weeks by Washington and Minnesota, and now they have to deal with Mike Loxley and the Maryland Terrapins, who brought Michigan to the 4th quarter last weekend. MSU enters as a touchdown dog on the road in College Park. Next, Rutgers wants to rebound after their first loss of the season to Iowa, but it's a major task as they face off with number 3 Ohio State. The Buckeyes favored by a whopping 39 points in Columbus. C.J. Stroud leads the country in passing touchdowns with 16 after the Buckeyes rolled over Bucky in Wisconsin last weekend from Ohio Stadium. The final undefeated team in the Big Ten Conference, Penn State, along with Michigan, Minnesota, and Ohio State, will play host at Beaver Stadium to Northwestern, now at 1-3, fresh off a loss to Miami of Ohio. The 11th-ranked Nittany Lions and James Franklin play their final game before the bye, heading into the daunting maze-out at Michigan Stadium on October 15th. College Game Day's weekly trip took the crew to Clemson, South Carolina for a top 10 showdown with Dabo's Tigers and the NC State Wolfpack. DJ Uiagalelei has shown improvement over the past few weeks after a slow start, but it's a hungry Wolfpack crew that wants to prove it belongs with the big boys in the ACC. Kickoff at Memorial Stadium, scheduled for 7:30. That's the out-of-town scoreboard here on the WCBN pregame show. I'm Zach Linfield. Going to a bit of a more in-depth preview of today's football game between Michigan and Iowa, live from Kinnick Stadium as I welcome Kelin Flynn into the broadcast here on WCBN FM Ann Arbor. Kelin, it's your first big-time start in the first quarter of doing play-by-play for WCBN. I know you're excited. Talk to me about your feeling first before we dive into this ball game.
Oh, I'm absolutely amped up for this game. I mean, I could not be more excited. Awesome atmosphere here at Iowa, striping out the stadium. Great energy here from the fans. Thankfully, not a night game, but obviously really excited to be here and get things going. And a lot of big news on the injury report for Michigan especially. Zach, we want to get into that.
Yeah, as we look down on the turf below while Michigan was going through their warm-ups, it's mostly good news for Michigan. They knew no Eric Ulligan this week. Nikhai Hill-Green will not be active as well, as both players did not make the trip for the Maize and Blue. But the offensive line, they're going to get 2 big additions back. Carson Barnhart and Trevor Keegan are both active today against Iowa, and that's massive against this great Iowa defense. But we also look down below, and guess who's active today? That's the running back Donovan Edwards. Michigan had to rely on Blake Corum for 30 carries, 240-plus yards last weekend in the victory over Maryland. C.J. Stokes had 1 carry, and he fumbled. How big is it for Michigan to have Donovan Edwards back this week?
It cannot be overstated how big it is to have him back against an Iowa defense that if they can really take away your pieces, and we're going to talk about this more, but this Iowa secondary especially is just elite. They are loaded with talent. The preseason All-American Riley Moss back, like they have absolute dudes on that back end. And so to have a player like Donovan Edwards who can, you can put him in the slot, you can throw to him out of the backfield, you can give him the football out of the backfield, just do a bunch of different things and really spread out this Iowa defense and make them think, make them be a step slower because they have to think about what's going on.
Iowa famously plays back in black by AC/DC before they walk out of the tunnel on the far side of the field. We're perched up in the corner at Duke Slater Field at Kinnick Stadium as Iowa has striped out the maize and blue the last time they did that against Michigan. 2016, the last time Michigan took a trip here to Kinnick, and that was that walk-off victory for Iowa and Keith Duncan on this near side of the field. But for Iowa, they're also missing a couple of key pieces as well. That's linebacker Justin Jacobs, who's now out for the season after having surgery this past week, along with Y.A. Black. He's out on the defensive front. But it seems as if today active for them is cornerback Terry Roberts. After he did not play last weekend, he had plenty of question marks throughout the week on whether or not he would play. But Cooper DeJean has filled in very nicely for him regardless. You mentioned it's a stacked Iowa defense. Yeah, Cooper DeJean, the sophomore, he plays a lot in that nickel, that cash role for the Hawkeyes. He was tremendous against Rutgers last week, the pick 6. I'm sure we'll mention that later on in the broadcast, but having a guy like Riley Moss on one side, then another seasoned veteran, Terry Roberts, on the other, then allows them to use Cooper DeJean throughout the middle of this defense and try to take away some of these Michigan weapons that they have on the offensive side of the football. Perky, the Hawkeye, and the Iowa Hawkeyes band together like a group of brothers, like Kirk Ferentz loves to say, on the far side of the field as they enter out of the Hy-Vee tunnel with the Iowa flags waving in the student section right behind them. Michigan has yet to take the field here at Kinnick Stadium. It's going to be an electric environment. Kelin, Flynn on the play-by-play in the first quarter. Zach Linfield here with you. Adam Bressler will join us in the second half on color. That's the third and the fourth quarters. Kelin, why don't we dive into the starting lineups here today? And while we got to start mainly with Michigan, we know J.J. McCarthy at the quarterback position, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards at running back, Andrell Anthony, Cornelius Johnson, Ronnie Bell, Robin Wilson will take the majority of the snaps at wide receiver. Ryan Hayes, Trevor Keegan, Olu Oluwatimi, Zach Zinter, Trente Jones, left or right for the offensive line. Yeah, absolutely. This is a Michigan offense that has shown that they can be very dynamic at times this season. Again, the offensive line, one of the best in the country, and that's going to be really key against this stout Iowa defense, is keeping that pocket clean for J.J. McCarthy to have the ability to step up, make throws down the field, and create some running lanes as well for the two talented running backs Michigan has there in the backfield. And really, J.J. McCarthy, there's going to be a lot of spotlight on him today, keeping the football in Michigan, with Michigan, not turning over the football. That's going to be so huge for the Wolverines today against a very opportunistic Iowa defense. We're just about set for the national anthem. We'll turn our mics down and allow you to take in the Iowa marching band as they play the nation's national anthem.
Kinnick's 1939 Heisman Award acceptance speech.
I thank God I was born on the good iron of the Midwest and not in the battlefield of Europe. I can speak confidently and positively that the players of this country would much rather struggle and fight to win the Heisman Award than claw together. Thank you.
Conducted by the University of Iowa Director of bands, Dr. Mark Heidel, our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WCBN's coverage of Michigan football, and welcome to Kinnick Stadium, where in the words of Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh, the place where top 5 teams go to die. Harbaugh and the Wolverines are all too familiar with just how hostile an environment Kinnick can be. In 2016, the undefeated Wolverines rolled into Iowa City, ranked number 2 in the nation, and lost in stunning fashion as the Hawkeyes drilled a game-winning field goal as time expired. But it's not just the Wolverines that have fell victim to the death trap that is Kinnick Stadium. The Hawkeyes are 4-1 in 2010 versus top 5 teams at home, with 2 of those wins coming as an unranked squad. And with a sophomore quarterback at the helm for Michigan making his first ever start on the road, and questions from the media about his ball security against one of the most opportunistic defenses in the nation, J.J. McCarthy has the national spotlight shining squarely upon him. On paper, this has all the makings of another day where Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes get to play spoiler against a top 5 opponent. But this isn't Jim Harbaugh's first rodeo at Kinnick. He's backed by one of the best offensive lines in the country and an arsenal of offensive weapons to stretch this Iowa defense, as well as a Michigan defense littered with playmakers ready to make a name for themselves on a national level. Zach, it does not have to be pretty, but the Wolverines have to find a way to survive the onslaught of the Hawkeyes here at Kinnick.
Well, that's absolutely right, Kelin. I'm very happy to be alongside you here today. Michigan's got a daunting task in front of them. They haven't won here since 2005. And as you mentioned, a place where top 5 teams certainly do go to die. But Michigan in that game, as we throw you back to 2016, Michigan had 2 running into the kicker penalties, which absolutely killed them down the stretch, which allowed Keith Duncan to end up winning the football game for Iowa on the last second. So as we get ready for kickoff, there's a couple of important things to keep in the back of your mind as well, and that's also Michigan has a great defense. They're number 8 in the country. Iowa's number 1, Michigan's number 8. So the Wolverines, they do have some tasks to deal with here today, but it's an exciting environment and an exciting game for these 2 clubs.
Absolutely, Zach. And again, this is a Hawkeyes team that everyone's been talking about the offense and how much this offense has struggled, and that really is something that I feel like hasn't been talked about as much in this game specifically compared to the Michigan defense. Everyone wants to talk about how good this Iowa defense is and how much this Michigan offense will struggle. That it was an offense that was shaky at times against Maryland, but got it figured out down the stretch. I think something we really need to focus on here is this Iowa offense that has really struggled against the Michigan defense that has been dominant throughout parts of this season.
A lot of people also forget about what happened in December of last year. They talk about the daunting environment of coming here to play against Iowa, but they also maybe forget about what happened last December from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Michigan victorious 42-3. Iowa drove the ball down the field on their first drive of the game, missed the field goal. Michigan and capitalized and was able to beat the brakes off Iowa in what nobody expected in the Big Ten championship game. I don't necessarily see today being the same result, but I would expect Michigan to bring out all the stops to get their first road victory in an environment like this one.
And in past years under Jim Harbaugh, we've seen Michigan really kind of start the season slow, really a more vanilla playbook to start the season. Do you think the Wolverines will open up the playbook a little bit more early in the season here in a hostile environment at Kinnick Stadium?
Well, you certainly don't want to drop an early one. And I think Michigan would be on the line to potentially drop one if they play this game too conservative. You play conservative with Iowa, you fall right into their hands.
Well, we are now moments away from kickoff here at Duke Slater Field at Kinnick Stadium as the Hawkeyes are ready to go. The Wolverines will receive the kick. And here we go. And that's a low kick that will sail out the back of the end zone. Roman Wilson lets it go, and the Wolverines will start this game at their own 25-yard line.
Good to see how turned up this place is going to be on 1st and 10. We know it gets loud. It's not the largest of stadiums in the Big Ten, but we've heard a lot about a stripe-out environment and playing in Iowa in general. Expect this place to turn up the volume here momentarily.
And the Wolverines with a trio of receivers on the field. It's Blake Corum in the backfield, and of course J.J. McCarthy under center for Michigan. The Hawkeyes getting loud here as McCarthy will hand it off to Blake Corum, and Corum is stopped after a gain of a couple.
And that's about as vanilla as it'll get on 1st down. Although Michigan, you might look at it, not much. They still picked up 4. That's an efficient 1st down play that Michigan can do with all game long.
Absolutely, and it sets up the offense to have options here on 2nd and 3rd down. McCarthy in the shotgun now. Blake Corum to his right. 2 receivers to McCarthy's left, 2 to his right. Schoonmaker, the tight end in the game. And it's another handoff to Corum. Corum bounces that one for the 1st down.
And that's just another vanilla play. We're going to keep going back to that word, but this is where Michigan's going to end up getting them. Iowa will do a pretty similar thing where they're going to pound it, pound it, pound it. Here comes the play-action pass. So I would look forward to J.J. at some point airing it out, but now they're going to go gun, which could open things up just a little bit more for this offense.
And Michigan really trying to spread the fields here, not clog up that interior, forcing Iowa to keep that box clean. As this time McCarthy will drop back to pass, finds Roman Wilson on the outside for a gain of about 6.
That's a nice throw. Remember, that's from the far side of the field, and J.J. put it right on Roman's numbers. I don't know, although Iowa's defense is very, very good, Kelin. We've talked about it all week, all pregame. If J.J. is able to make those kind of throws, it's going to be a good day.
Those quick outs, really safe throws for Michigan as McCarthy again in the shotgun. Corum to his left. Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson on the right side. It's Schoonmaker and Ronnie Bell to the left. McCarthy, it's a keeper this time as J.J. McCarthy gets to the outside and will scamper out of bounds after a 1st down. And that's something
we haven't seen much from J.J. He's trying to pick up extra yards through the first 4, and now here against Iowa on his first carry, which was a beautiful read option. He read the outside linebacker for Iowa, which is similar to Michigan's defense last season with the edge rushers, and he ran out of bounds. That's something we haven't seen him do this year.
And something that you like to see from your young quarterback, avoiding those big hits that are unnecessary early in the game like this. McCarthy still picks up the first.
Especially with no McNamara.
Exactly. Michigan with it at the 49-yard line. McCarthy rolls out to his right across the field, and he's got Roman Wilson. Wilson inside the 40 of Iowa. Nice pitch and catch there from J.J. McCarthy to Roman Wilson.
Now Michigan, we know this was going to be a much different offense than Iowa's faced all season so far, but this has looked like what Michigan did similarly against Maryland last weekend, where it was pound, 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 roll out pass, and it was successful. Here's Donovan Edwards.
Edwards now in the game to McCarthy's left. Darius Clemens also in the game, the freshman receiver split out wide.
Being
McCarthy
covered by Moss.
Drops back to pass, hits Edwards in the flat on a little swing pass. And Edwards will pick up a couple there. Wolverines with it at about the Iowa 35. And Zach, Michigan's been clicking offensively early. No incomplete passes. They've been picking up good yardage on every play, really moving down methodically against this Iowa defense.
And although that was only a gain of 2, Michigan still being able to block on the edge is a big factor in this ballgame. A.J. Henning put a defensive back on his back. That's a pancake block for a receiver.
And that's something the coaching staff loves to see. McCarthy shotgun again. They'll bring a receiver in motion. Inside handoff to Blake Corum as Corum scampers down to about the 26.
Pretty close, though.
Ball in the 28, 3rd and 1 for Michigan. First third down of the game. Hawkeyes looking to make a stand here with Michigan driving on the first possession of the game. And Zach, something you mentioned when we were driving out here is that you wanted Michigan to get the ball early and drive down the field and put points on the board.
And they're in 12 personnel right here. There's 2 tight ends in the formation, plus Trente Jones on the right side. I'd expect this to be handoff all the way.
McCarthy will indeed hand it off. And it looks like the Wolverines have enough for the first down. Riley Moss was the one that brought him down. Waiting for official word on the spot, and it will be a first down for Michigan.
On 2nd down and short and 3rd down and short, don't expect Iowa to play it conservative themselves. They're very aggressive when it comes to packing the box, and that's exactly why Riley Moss made the stop on the last play. There was no receiver on the far side of the field, and he almost brought down Corum right at the line of game.
Riley Moss, the preseason All-American corner. We're going to be saying his name a lot today.
Right.
McCarthy with a little bit of motion action here, looking, has a man, and it's incomplete. A little miscommunication there between Bell and J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, he had Ronnie Bell in a pocket here on the near sideline, and Ronnie didn't have his head turned quite yet. It was supposed to be here in the corner of the end zone, but J.J. had to make a quicker decision. That's what we were talking about, though, in the pregame, is making those quicker reads and getting the ball out, because we know Iowa's defensive line, they're coming to get that football.
Absolutely, and that's a very stout Iowa defensive front there. 2nd down and 10 for Michigan. McCarthy in the shotgun again with Edwards in the backfield. Edwards makes a nice move, and Edwards will take it up to the 16-yard line. Nice run there from Donovan Edwards, and boy, does Michigan love to have him back.
Oh, yeah, they do. They had him for that, the Hawaii game. He had 3 plays on that one drive. Every single play went to number 7, and he ended up being hurt on that touchdown pass from J.J. McCarthy. So that moves the chains for Michigan. First down, and here's the ground and pound now. We get to see what Michigan's offensive line's all about.
And the Wolverines, in these kind of red zone situations, you got to come away with 6. It's Blake Corum in the backfield, McCarthy under center. And they'll flip it around, end around to Ronnie Bell. Bell makes a move. Ronnie Bell into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan. Ronnie Bell on the end around. Great blocking from the Wolverines, and Bell scampers in nearly untouched. 6 points early for Michigan.
I mean, Kelin, they made that drive look easy. It looked like they had almost no resistance. 1 incomplete pass thrown by J.J. McCarthy, 1 third down. How about that first drive for these Wolverines?
And this is a game that the national media, local media, everyone was saying the Wolverines is going to be a very low-scoring game. Wolverines are going to struggle to put up points. Can J.J. McCarthy take care of the football? On that first drive, they silenced a lot of those concerns as Jake Moody's extra point is up and good per usual. You just said right there, what really stood out to you on that first offensive drive for Michigan? Because that was surgical from the Wolverines.
Yeah, that first drive for Michigan, Kelin, what I'm going to give that props to is what Michigan had props to for last season as well. That's the offensive line. That offensive line was fantastic that whole drive. The couple of passes JJ threw, there was nobody close to him, especially on that incomplete pass here. JJ didn't have that time last week. And now they were missing Trevor Keegan. They were missing Carson Barnhart. But how big is it for Michigan to have that stout play on the offensive line? And what's also important that I took away from that drive in Michigan scoring is that kind of drowns out the noise for right now. This environment is electric, and that turns the volume down a little bit for the time being.
And you want to talk about game script in a game like this, the way these two teams match up, for Michigan to come out and put a touchdown on the board early, that's huge for the rest of this game, because now Iowa has to play from behind. And Iowa is not a team that's built to play from behind and come from behind. And if you're Michigan, you want to make Spencer Petras, the quarterback for the Iowa Hawkeyes, make plays down the field, force him to beat you, because so far this season he's shown that he really might not be capable of doing that.
And especially at the starting position, Petras only completing 51% of his passes on the year. 1 score, 2 interceptions, and it's going to be a hungry Michigan defensive line. They want to step in and see who can be the Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo of last year's Big Ten championship game against a very similar starting offensive line for Iowa and the same quarterback who was benched in the second half for Alex Padilla. And Padilla has no action this year. He's taken 0 snaps for the Hawkeyes. So, I mean, you never want to root for injury, but let's just say it's the same thing as Michigan. J.J. McCarthy gets bounced out of the game. You turn to a guy in Davis Warren who has 0 significant snaps under his belt. You bring Alex Padilla into the game with 0 reps on the season. Iowa might be in trouble.
Absolutely, and this is something that has been talked about within the Hawkeyes fan bases. Some clamoring for Alex Padilla to get some run here, get some opportunities, because Spencer Petras has just not been what they've hoped for in another year of development for the senior quarterback. Padilla with a quarterback rating of 11.6 on the year. That's 125th in the country, Zach. That is just not ideal for a team that has high hopes every season to be a strong contender in the Big Ten, win the Big Ten West.
And also for a team whose rushing game is down this year. And Tyler Goodson was one heck of a back they had last year. He's now with the Green Bay Packers. He's on their practice team. But they have 3 running backs that they'll use, and none of them really equate up to what Tyler Goodson was for them last year. And that's why they made the championship game. They were solid on the ground and then were able to utilize the play action when they were able to. That's not necessarily the case this year because the run game is not great, which leads to less play action opportunities.
Jake Moody will boot this one away as we're back underway here from Kinnick Stadium. That's a short kick fielded by Caleb Johnson, and Johnson will be brought down at the 21.
That's a win for
Wolverines
Michigan.
Got to him there. And Caleb Johnson, one of those trio of backs that we'll see from Iowa. Caleb Johnson, Gavin Williams, and LaShawn Williams will be the 3 primary backs for the Hawkeyes. And Zach, what does Iowa need to do offensively against this Michigan defense to respond to a very quieting drive from the Wolverines?
What Iowa's going to have to do is they're going to have to do things that none of Michigan's opponents have done so far this year, and that's move the ball efficiently, drive the drive.
Petras will hand this one off to LaShawn Williams, and Williams picks up a nice chunk of yards there, about 6 on the carry.
What we saw flawed last week, Kelin, for Michigan was Roman Hemby and Maryland's offense was able to run the ball on them. Michigan still does not have a great run defense, and the big guys are in there now. Chris Jenkins, Mason Graham, and Mozzie Smith, and they're backed up by Barrett and Colson. But it's still not a great run defense that Michigan has.
Not quite what Michigan had last year in terms of run defense, and now with Caleb Johnson in the game for the Hawkeyes, they're going to look to continue to exploit that as they do hand it off to Caleb Johnson, and he will be stopped after about a gain of 2 there, bringing up 3rd and 3 for Iowa.
And this is the big play for Michigan, right? You know Iowa's offense isn't great. You expose their defense on the first drive. You get off the field on 3rd 3 and out on Iowa's first possession, that's golden, and you put yourself in a good position.
Absolutely, and number 18 on the field for the Wolverines, Yabi Oki, the transfer from UT Martin in Alabama, former 5-star recruit. He looks like he could be a dude on the pass rush for Michigan.
Yeah, Gavin Williams, the receiving back, checks into the game, so Iowa's used all 3 on the first drive.
Petras in the shotgun will drop back to pass, and that pass is incomplete. Mike Sainristil broke that one up along the Michigan sideline.
Look who was also right there. You just mentioned his name. He's supposed to be in pass rush, but Yabi Oki just dropped into coverage playing the David Ojabo type role from last year. That's big time.
Absolutely, and defensive coordinator Jesse Minter is really starting to experiment more with Yabi Oki and what he can do for this Michigan team. Transferred in the middle of August, so doesn't really have a ton of reps with the team, so they're starting to ease him in slowly.
Sorry, the cheer for the Australian punter, Tory Taylor, is just kind of funny.
And you could make the argument Tory Taylor's the best player on this team.
Oh, yeah.
Tory
Outside
Taylor,
maybe Riley Moss.
one of the best punters in the country,
Look at that.
with a booming kick there. Will be fielded by A.J. Henning, and Henning is brought down immediately. Great coverage by the special teams unit for Iowa.
That's Cooper DeJean.
And Michigan will start with the ball at the 21-yard line.
Well, now it's all about what we listened to all day yesterday on Sports Talk Radio, previewing Michigan and Iowa, and that's not turning the ball over. Iowa cannot be given the short side of the field, because if they end up getting that short side of the field, they'll try and pound you with field goals, because as they proved on that first drive, their offense really isn't all that.
Exactly, and against Rutgers, they had 2 defensive scores last week.
Right.
Kayvon Merriweather and Cooper DeJean both ended up scoring on the defensive side of the ball, so that's really what Iowa does, and we saw it last year too to start the season. Iowa great at forcing turnovers and capitalizing on those turnovers, whether it be scoring on defense or setting up a real short field for the offense.
Their defense averages 4.5 points per game. That's ridiculousness. Their offense averages 12.5 points per game. Michigan's offense is astronomical right now compared to what Iowa's put up this season. And it's fair to say Iowa's played a little bit better competition than Michigan has with that Iowa State matchup. And now FCS, South Dakota State, really isn't a bad football team. It shouldn't have been 7-3.
And that 7-3 is not what you think it
No,
is
it's
if you
not.
weren't following that
Let
game.
them take their guess and then give it to them.
You would assume that would be a touchdown and a field goal, but for those that are diehard college football fans, you will know that
It's
game
the old 2 field goals and the extra point.
was 2 safeties and a field goal for the Iowa Hawkeyes to bring home the
a field goal,
victory.
then 2 safeties in the fourth quarter, both in the fourth quarter.
And that was a game that was just hilarious to be watching as an outsider, to see 2 safeties in a game, but that really describes this Iowa team as their defense is honestly what sets up their offense for the most success, whether it be scoring on their own or giving them a short field.
No, it does. It's the defense, and it's the awesome special teams unit that Iowa has as well. Their special teams in the 3 phases of the game, it's probably ranked defense, special teams, and then the offense. Because their special teams in that game right here against Iowa State helped them out tremendously. Iowa's only touchdown of the game, they had their drive start at the 16-yard line of Iowa State after a blocked punt. And that's the way they were able to score their touchdown in that ball game. So you can see Iowa, when they use a short field, they're much more efficient, obviously, than when they have to go the whole 75.
And like you talked about, that special teams unit, obviously just making the great coverage there. Torrey Taylor, one of the best punters in the country. That's going to be key for the Hawkeyes if they're going to win this game. They need to pin the Wolverines deep, make the Wolverines drive the full length of the field, but Michigan has a really great special teams unit of its own.
I was going to say Brad Robbins is a pretty darn good punter himself. And if Michigan has to play that game, I'm sure number 91 on the close sidelines willing to do that.
And just as Torrey Taylor's very adept at pinning opposing teams deep, Brad Robbins has no problem making the Hawkeyes drive 80, 90 yards down the field himself. And that Wolverines coverage unit has been electric this year too.
Now Michigan's offense, Kelin, we listened all day, like I mentioned, to Sports Talk Radio. If Michigan goes up by more than 2 possessions in the first quarter, that's pretty tough for Iowa to overcome when they only average 12.5 points per game on offense.
And this is a Michigan team that is very comfortable running the football with their pair of dominant running backs and just kind of salting this clock away. McCarthy in the shotgun for Michigan. It's Blake Corum to his right. A couple of receivers to the right as well with Schoonmaker. 1 receiver to the left.
Here comes that crowd.
McCarthy
5 on the play clock.
Makes a check. Will drop back to pass. McCarthy, clean pocket, looks, throws downfield. He's got his man. It's Luke Schoonmaker.
Frozen rope.
That was just a bullet from McCarthy. And J.J. McCarthy so far through a drive in 1 play has looked very, very comfortable in his first hostile environment as a starter.
And that's back to the offensive line as well. Beautiful protection. They kind of created that halo effect that J.J. was able to stand right there in the pocket and deliver a bullet to Schoonmaker.
That was enough for a first down. 1st and 10 for the Wolverines. Gain of 12 on that last pass. McCarthy again in the shotgun. Corum to his right. This time it's a handoff to Corum. Corum breaks a tackle and will be wrapped up by a couple of Hawkeyes around the 40-yard line. A gain of 7 on the carry.
And that's another one you'll take right away from Michigan every single time. They had a pulling guard, and that was Trevor Keegan, who came around the far side and placed a nice block. And Luke Schoonmaker was in the mix as well as the better of the blocking tight ends. Him and Joel Honingford are great, and we're also in on that 3rd down and 1 play on the previous possession.
And with the absence of Eric All last week and this week, Schoonmaker has definitely stepped up. He was the leading receiver for Michigan last week against Maryland, as McCarthy will drop back to pass again here and again. Find Luke Schoonmaker. That'll be enough for the first down.
Yeah, but that was almost a bad mistake by J.J. McCarthy. He threw that well behind Schoonmaker, and he's lucky that Schoon is a very large human being because that might have been picked off if it goes through his hands.
Quinn Schulte, the free safety there, was coming in hard to make a play on that one. He was the one that brought down Schoonmaker. But the Wolverines avoid catastrophe there. It's 1st and 10 on the 45-yard line. Bring Bell in motion. It's a handoff to Blake Corum. Corum tries to bounce this one, and Blake Corum will be brought down around midfield. Gain of 5 on the carry for Michigan.
I mean, Kelin, this looks easy right now for Michigan's offensive line. They are pushing around Iowa's defensive front, and it's not particularly close. You look at that last formation, Michigan had 2 tight ends on the far side, and they ran a weak side handoff with the 2 upper offensive linemen, Zach Zinter, Trente Jones, and they still picked up 5 yards.
This Michigan offensive line has been dominant, just like you said, and that's something that we didn't necessarily see throughout that entire Maryland game. They look like they're back in form. Joe Moore Award winning group from last year.
Give another handoff here.
McCarthy will hand this one off again to Corum, as Corum will just kind of fight forward.
He got it.
And that push from the offensive line has just been incredible to start this game. That's really been the difference maker for Michigan, is McCarthy's had a clean pocket the whole time, and then the blocking downfield on all of their handoffs has been tremendous.
And I mean, what did I tell you about drowning out that crowd noise? I mean, that first drive was pretty loud in here. And now that volume's starting to teeter down a little bit more, as they were pretty revved up on first down on the first play of the drive, but they've gone relatively silent since.
McCarthy under center. And McCarthy stumbles out of the backfield, holds onto the football, avoiding catastrophe, but J.J. McCarthy got tripped up by his own feet there. The turf monster got him.
Yeah, I think he got caught up on Zach Zinter, who kind of took a pull step, and the big left foot of 65 got under McCarthy. And, you know, you'd rather just fall down. You'll take the loss of 5 yards, and now you can air it out, but here comes the crowd. You can't give them free ones.
2nd and 15 for Michigan, ball at the 50-yard line. The crowd, like you just said, really getting into it here. And J.J. McCarthy, the first time this game that they're behind the chains, he might need to make a play.
Right. Edwards back in the game now, too.
McCarthy in the shotgun, drops back to pass, looking, rusher coming, and he hits Donovan Edwards for a gain of about 7. And J.J. McCarthy had Joe Evans coming in hard, delivering a hit, but he stands in and delivers a nice strike to Edwards.
Yeah, and that also makes it 3rd down and manageable now for Michigan. The Wolverines bring in a couple of tight ends, so I'm interested to see what kind of set they're going to run here. Now they're going to have one-on-one coverage with a safety covering Cornelius Johnson here on the near side with Cooper DeJean, who's the fill-in corner. Ronnie Bell in the game too.
McCarthy in the shotgun, Edwards to his right. Takes the snap, drops back to pass. McCarthy looking, pressure coming. McCarthy's going to take off, and he'll be tackled short of the sticks.
Now this is what we heard all week about, is now Brad Robbins' ability to try and punt Iowa deep. You want to play the field position game? Let's do it. Michigan with a 7-0 lead. I think they'd rather just try and pin them deep than take a shot here.
Absolutely. 4th and 9 for the Wolverines. No sense in going for it here. Much rather have your stud punter and Brad Robbins try to pin this Hawkeye team deep. And it's Arlen Bruce standing at about the 8-yard line for the Hawkeyes. Michigan collapsing that protection again. Hawkeyes looking to take advantage here as Robbins with some clean space there punts this one away. High punt, and will pin the Hawkeyes inside the 10-yard line. And look at that, Brad Robbins putting on a show early.
You'll take that at this point. DeJean and Sanders still getting cut up a little bit, but no, you'll take that because now you pin Iowa deep. You force Spencer Petras in this Hawkeye offense to go 91 yards. I'd say you're putting yourself in a pretty good position at this point. You just got to play good defense.
If you're the coaching staff, you're happy with that. You're going to make the Hawkeyes drive the length of the field to beat you multiple times. And we saw in that Rutgers game, Rutgers was able to pin Iowa deep multiple times throughout that game. And Iowa struggled to really get anything going when they were backed up on their own field.
Yeah, they scored 27 points, but only 7 of them came on offensive touchdowns. They kicked a couple of field goals, but 2 defensive touchdowns was how Iowa won that football game. So we saw in that first drive, 2 handoffs. Petras, easy. Turnaround handoff. They got about 7 yards. Incomplete pass on 3rd down and 3, and that's the old Jim Bob Cooper Lions joke where it's run, pass. Run, pass. I would figure at some point, Iowa, Kelin, if they're going to win this football game, I think they're going to have to switch it up at some point. Maybe some trickery like Michigan had last year, and maybe some downfield shots and test this Michigan secondary like Maryland did last week.
And that's the thing for Iowa, is they don't necessarily have the super dynamic playmakers to stretch the field like Michigan did, and that does and still does from that Big Ten championship game. The 2 pass catchers that you really look for Iowa are the tight end Sam Laporta and then Arlen Bruce, their top receiver.
Yeah, Luke Lachey is probably the 3rd one, and he's the other tight end. They'll go 2 tight end sets quite like Michigan does. But Michigan's different in the sense that they spread out their tight ends. It's always a tightly knit formation for Iowa as they honor Bruce Ramler, military hero of the game here. That's the cheering you hear in the background. But Michigan's defense, you just got to play clean. You can't play football with penalties. You play clean, simple defense. That should do it against Iowa. But you look back to the offensive possession for Michigan. They moved the ball with ease again. It was that one simple trip up by J.J. McCarthy that lost 5 yards that put him well behind the sticks.
And even with how well Michigan played on that first offensive drive, this Iowa defense is too good to put yourself in a situation where you're behind the sticks and you need to make big plays consistently. Then that's penalties, loss of yards on running plays, sacks. That's where this Iowa defense will take advantage because it forces you to be predictable, drop back and pass, and that's when they have the opportunity to force turnovers. Iowa setting up on their own 9-yard line. Spencer Petras in the huddle, directing traffic for Iowa. And it looks like it's LaShawn Williams in the backfield.
There's that 2 tight end set we mentioned.
And it's another handoff to LaShawn Williams. Williams going to be hit at around the 10-yard line, but he's able to dive forward for a gain of 4.
It's a nice play by Chris Jenkins, who just kind of wrapped up the foot of Williams and said, I'm just not letting go. Because if Williams was able to get to the boundary there, he might pick up 5-6 more yards before DJ Turner eventually crashed in on him. But that's just a stronghold from big Chris Jenkins.
Petras again, LaShawn Williams to his left. And they'll drop back to pass. Little bootleg action here for Petras. Petras hit in the backfield and able to avoid the sack. Just throws it away, but a flag is thrown.
It's going to be a hold on the Michigan secondary, likely.
Rod Moore has his hands up in disbelief, anticipating it might be called on number 19. And that is the call, holding on Rod Moore. Automatic first down for the Hawkeyes, and that backs them up out of their own 10-yard line. Gives them a little bit more breathing room here. 1st and 10 from their own 22 now.
It's right around where they started their first drive.
And that's another way that Michigan can lose this game and give up points, is penalty yardage can really add up, and you don't want to give this Hawkeye offense extra chances, free opportunities to move the football when they haven't earned it.
Right, and Michigan and Maryland combined for only 2 penalties last week.
Still 7-0 Wolverines as we're just under 2:30 to go here in the first quarter. Hawkeyes call a timeout.
Michigan, Kelin, here's what just happened. Iowa decided to substitute late, which already they huddle every single play. It's never a fast-paced movement for Iowa. They huddle. We're going to go to another media timeout too. But no matter what, Iowa always huddles. If Iowa substitutes at all, the offense substitutes, Michigan has all the time in the world they can to substitute. The official will put out both of his arms length wide with his fists in the air. And if Iowa substitutes, Michigan can run a guy on late and bring another guy off. The play clock was down under 5. You hear the boos from the Iowa faithful, but that's a legal play. Michigan just jogged off Mason Graham, and that's a legal play. There's nothing the Hawkeyes can do about it.
And they were forced to call a timeout there, and yeah, that's Iowa and under Kirk Ferentz. They do not like to go tempo. They're not a high-paced, a fast-paced offense.
Ferentz family in general.
Yeah, and Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator, we can talk about that. I mean, that's been a real piece of contention for the Iowa fan base is what do you do with Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator for the Hawkeyes? The Iowa offense under his direction has just never really been
historically bad.
Elite, and they've been really, really bad this season. But Brian Ferentz, the son of Kirk Ferentz,
he took a lot of heat at the end of last season. As Iowa, they almost missed the Big Ten championship game.
They got lucky. They got a gift from the Golden Gophers.
Wisconsin and Minnesota game last year. Because I at the time, I would have rather played Iowa than played Wisconsin, because Wisconsin was heating up big time. And you never want to play a team twice, and especially a team with a stature like Wisconsin.
And that's something that the Hawkeyes are going to need to figure out if they want to take that next step as a program, as the defense year in and year out is typically pretty stout for Iowa, but it's when you don't have that elite playmaker that they've had in years past. You talk about Goodson, the running back that they had last year. They don't really have that guy that's the playmaker offensively, and you've really seen the offense that is typically a middle of the pack to below average offense really be stagnant this year.
Yeah, we've talked plenty about the Iowa defense, and Jim Harbaugh wanted to hear no more of it later in the week. They said, we've got a pretty good defense, and guess what? We've got a pretty good offense, too. Michigan's proved that week in and week out, although they did stutter here and there last week against Maryland. It was just one little stutter so far today that's cost them. Michigan almost going ahead by 2 possessions would have been massive for Michigan on the road.
And I think if you're Michigan, you're still happy with the way this game started, up 7-0. Almost done here
had
with
them in
this,
third down.
With the first quarter. The Hawkeyes now 1st and 10, still deep in their own territory, and your defense played well on that first drive.
Right. And what we talk about, too, we figured this was going to be a quick game. We'd get in and we would get out because of how Michigan and Iowa both like to play. With J.J. McCarthy completing passes, the clock will continue to run. Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, and then the whole Iowa offense is run, run, run.
And Monty Pottebaum, the big fullback into the game for Iowa, one of the best in the country. It's a play-action pass here for Petrus. Petrus looking downfield, and he's got the tight end Luke Lachey. Big pass play there for the Hawkeyes, and Lachey is down to about the 48-yard line. Spencer Petrus drops back and delivers a strike over the middle of the field.
That's all on Junior Colson right there. He just didn't sit deep enough. It went right over his head. He had no clue that Lachey was sneaking in behind him, and Lachey sat in the window, made a nice catch.
R.J. Moten, the one to bring him down.
The only one there.
But there's a big play for the Hawkeyes and getting that crowd into it. Handoff this time to Caleb Johnson, and he has stood up. Mason Graham and a number of other Wolverines in there to stop that handoff.
Yeah, that was a nice play by the Michigan linebacker, specifically Michael Barrett. Mason Graham was able to shed his offensive lineman. That's Mason Richmond, the big left tackle. Throw him aside and make a nice stop. And when 2 or more Wolverines are right there, they're the best in the country when it comes to tackling.
And how about Mason Graham? I mean, the true freshman coming in, earning a lot of play time early this season and really playing really well with that play time. Petrus under center. They bring Bruce in motion. Another play-action pass. Petrus has his man. This time it's the other tight end, Laporta. And Laporta is able to drag a defender for the first down.
Mike Barrett. Barrett was right there behind him, but Laporta, who does have quite a bit of speed for the tight end position, just leaked away from the defensive end. And that's Mason Graham. He got away from Graham, and he just snuck into the flat, and that's an easy pitch and catch for Petrus.
And this Iowa offense scheming up easy completions for Petrus to try to get him going early. LaShawn Williams now into the backfield for Iowa. 2 receivers to the left. Petrus under center will drop back to pass again over the middle of the field, and that pass is just overthrown again. He had Luke Lachey.
Yeah. And who are the 4 intended receivers they've thrown to so far in the 4 passes?
Lachey, Laporta,
and
I think
Bruce.
It was Bruce on the outside.
That's the top 3 receivers for Iowa. Bruce has 10 receptions, Laporta had 10 coming in. Bruce had 8, and Lachey had 5. There's no other receiver on the team with more than 2 receptions outside of the running back room.
It's a very condensed passing offense for Iowa. They love to run the football.
Now Michigan's got him where you want him. You want him in 2nd down, 3rd down and long, and force Iowa to make a play.
Petrus moves with the pocket and throws that one over the head of Brody Breck, number 14. First time he's been targeted today. And some boos raining in on Spencer Petrus as that one should have been an easy pitch and catch for the Hawkeyes, but he just airmailed it.
I think maybe they were asking for a flag on Jamon Green right on the break. Jamon was tugging at him a little bit. But, I mean, it would have been well and complete regardless. Petrus airmailed him by a significant number of yards.
And now, like you just talked about, getting him in those 3rd and long situations, 3rd and 10 for the Hawkeyes.
You don't see this a lot. They go empty.
Empty set, like you said, very uncommon. Petrus in the shotgun.
Play clock low, too.
Petrus drops back, looking to pass. Pocket collapses. and he's unable to find Laporta, the tight end. That was Makari Page on the coverage for Michigan.
And now this is the game that Iowa likes to play. Michigan, you would have liked a little bit better defense. Of course, you get the stop, but now you play into the hands of Torrey Taylor and Iowa special teams unit. This is how they beat you. They back you up, they put you inside the 10, inside the 5, and force bad decisions. Michigan's going to have to play smart here, Kelin.
And Zach, you've been to more different stadiums than I have. How many stadiums have you been to where you see jerseys for the punter? Because I've seen a number of Torrey Taylor jerseys.
The big house, that's it.
Booms this one away.
Get into the end zone.
And that one will bounce into the end zone for a touchback. Dropped at about the 3-yard line and took a Michigan bounce into the end zone.
A number of Iowa fans took a seat. That's awesome. I mean, we look down to our right. There's a guy in about the 6th row, would you say, with a Torrey Taylor jersey on?
Yep. It's awesome. I
it's
love
different. It's different.
Now, you talk about punters being weapons. Torrey Taylor is the definition of a punter being a weapon.
Right. And so is Brad Robbins. I mean, you want to talk about jerseys. Talk about Blue by 90s collection.
Absolutely.
For Brad Robbins jerseys.
Jake Moody and Brad Robbins both, arguably the best kicker-punter duo in the country. As McCarthy is in the shotgun, has Corum behind him. They move Roman Wilson in motion, and it's a handoff to Blake Corum. Corum will take it to the left side to about the 25-yard line. 2nd and 5 for Michigan.
So you'll take that if you're Michigan. A nice block by the pulling guard, Zach Zinter, forced the linebacker to make a play. That's exactly what happened. And, well, Michigan's kind of playing Iowa's game right now. Pound it, pound it, pound it. Couple of quick throws, then eventually that shot will come.
And that will conclude the first quarter.
Well done, Kelin.
Here at Kinnick Stadium, Wolverines up 7-0. As one of the best traditions in sports is the wave to the Children's Hospital here at Kinnick Stadium. Just an awesome tradition as Michigan fans, Hawkeye fans alike turn and wave to the Children's Hospital that overlooks Kinnick Stadium here in Iowa City.
Isn't that a beautiful tradition?
It just is, and a ton of signs up there. Just an awesome, awesome tradition here from Iowa.
And I've seen a lot of traditions in college football over the time in my travels to different stadiums. I think this might be the best one. Really nothing else you can do except for soak it in, huh?
It's one of the greatest college game day traditions, and it's all for the kids. Thank you.
Absolutely, and with that,
Right.
I'll turn over play-by-play duties to Zach Linfield here for this second quarter.
Well, Kelin, I want to ask you a question first, and that pertains to outside the Michigan-Iowa game today. Is there any other game in the country today or in the Big Ten that you have your eyes specifically lying on?
Well, that Maryland-Michigan State game is definitely a game to talk about.
Just to see how real Maryland is?
Because Maryland came into the Big House and definitely put up a fight against this Michigan team that's ranked number 4 in the country. Michigan State in a downward spiral right now after getting shelled by Minnesota at home.
That secondary got exposed.
I mean, coming to this game, Spartan fans had to have had Maryland circled as a win, and Maryland opened that game as 9-point favorites. I believe it closed the line at 8.5 in favor of Maryland.
7.5 was the final spread.
7.5 was the final
Let's
spread.
do a quick out-of-town score update. Kentucky at Ole Miss, number 7 at number 14, battle of the undefeateds and the SEC. A couple of quick starts across the country and in the Big Ten as well. Ole Miss off to a 14-0 lead for Lane Kiffin's Rebels over top 10 Kentucky. TCU up 20-3 over 18th ranked Oklahoma.
The Brent Venables era in Oklahoma is not off to a hot start, dropping that game at
It's
home.
still brand new.
Absolutely, but dropping that game to Kansas State last week at home and now down big to TCU, not how Sooner fans thought they'd start off the new era.
I think Michigan State fans might be trembling in their seats a little bit too as Purdue's got a 10-0 lead at 21st ranked Minnesota, the only undefeated team remaining in the Big Ten West. Rest of the Big Ten today, plenty of Big Ten East undefeateds remaining. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. As Ohio State kicks off 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time against the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers from Ohio Stadium. Then a score update from Madison. Wisconsin leads 10-7 over Illinois.
How about that Ole Miss Kentucky game? Lane Kiffin's got those boys working down there at home in the Grove.
In the Grove, welcome there.
And they've got some playmakers. That running back, Zach Evans, the TCU transfer.
He's good.
He's a stud.
Then your prediction for tonight's game for DJ Uiagalelei. Number 5 Clemson, number 10 NC State. Who you got?
I like the Tigers. I think
home turf.
I think Clemson at home. I think that's a big thing. I think if they were at NC State, that maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe you're a little more nervous if you're Clemson, but I just think that they're too talented, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to drop that one.
Dabo and Clemson laying 7 in that game. Michigan leads at 7-0. 15 minutes to play second quarter here at Kinnick Stadium in the depths of Iowa City. A striped out environment, black and gold across both sidelines in the end zones. Michigan heading towards the Iowa student section, which is painted all black. J.J. McCarthy and Michigan set up left hash, 25-yard line on 2nd down and 5. Pumps that left leg in the shotgun. McCarthy gets the snap. He wants to throw. Fires quick left sideline. Got it complete Johnson. He's got the first down as he nears the 35-yard line near side. And he certainly picks it up. Pushed out of bounds by 33, Riley Moss. We've heard a lot about him, Kelin.
Absolutely. Riley Moss, the preseason All-American for the Hawkeyes, one of the best cornerbacks in the Big Ten. He's a lockdown corner. He's the definition of it. He's one of the best in the country and going to give J.J. McCarthy trouble throughout the day, but Cornelius Johnson able to win one there.
Donovan Edwards checks into the game. Active this week. Last time he played was week 2 against Hawaii. McCarthy quick out of the backfield, got Edwards to the 40-yard line. He nears the 45, but I think he stepped out just a bit prematurely. He was pushed out of bounds by Jay Higgins, the junior linebacker from Indy.
And it's just so awesome to have him back on the field for Michigan.
Need
just an explosive playmaker, so versatile. That pitch and catch from him and McCarthy in the Hawaii game down the sideline was an awesome play.
Oh, boy. 2nd down, 3 yards to get for Michigan. Ball spotted, 41-yard line near side. They need the 44. Bell in motion. Here's a handoff to Edwards. He tries to find a crease, chugs those legs across the 45-yard line and dives forward. That's a pickup of about 4 or 5 yards and a Michigan first down brought down by Jack Campbell, the big linebacker.
Look at that push from the Michigan offensive line. They moved that line of scrimmage up 1 to 2 yards before Edwards even hit the hole. I mean, that is just tremendous offensive line play and run blocking from this front.
2 tight ends still in the set for Michigan. Attached to the line of scrimmage and the offensive line is Joel Honingford. Luke Schoonmaker now joins the formation in motion. McCarthy barks out the signals, hands off Edwards. He's got a crease to the 50-yard line inside Iowa territory, and he's brought down low. Stopped by Cooper DeJean, who fills in for the previously injured Terry Roberts. We heard he's active today. Not much action, though, for Terry.
Yeah, Terry Roberts missed that Rutgers game. Opposite Riley Moss, another senior. But, yeah, hasn't gotten a ton of run today. But Cooper DeJean, the sophomore, is just a stud in his own right. And
has a great fill-in.
Up and coming for this Hawkeye defense.
Sophomore from Oldabolt, Iowa, 6'1", 209. McCarthy pumps that left leg. Corums is back off his right hip. Pumps it again. Looks towards Keegan, gets the snap from Oluwatimi. McCarthy drops the throw. Pressure coming backside, takes a shot. Deep down the middle of the field for Roman Wilson. It's incomplete inside the far end zone. He had 14. He just overthrew him. It brings up 2nd and 10.
And those were the plays in that Maryland game that J.J. McCarthy got asked about in the press conference afterwards and was talked about, those deep shots that down the field that Michigan has. You just have to connect on those. Because that, for one thing, for this Iowa defense, they do not give up shots down the field. They really keep everything in front of them, and they do not give up.
That's rare that Michigan took that shot right there. 2nd down, 10 yards to go. 3 tight ends set for Michigan. Andrell Anthony, the lone receiver. Here's a handoff. Corum to the boundary. Makes a cut past the 40-yard line, and he's brought down on top of his head by the linebacker Seth Benson. That's a nice pickup of about 7 yards, Kelin. 3rd down and 3. They'll mark him just a little bit short of that mark. 3rd down and 4 yards to play.
But again, 3rd down and 4, if you're Michigan, the whole playbook's open. You can run the ball, you can pass it. With the way you've been running it.
Now the question, do you play for 4 downs here?
In this situation, I'd say no.
J.J. McCarthy looks to the near sideline to get a different signal from his offensive staff. 12 minutes to play, 2nd quarter, Michigan in front by 7. McCarthy claps his hands, gets the snap, hands off Corum, finds a crease, leaps over one lineman. He's close to the marker, but I think he's just shy. Michigan, I think at this point, Kelin, you keep him on the field. It'll bring up 4th down.
I'd lean towards no. And I think Jim Harbaugh is going to go for it.
They're going to stay.
But in this kind of situation against know your opponent. Make Spencer Petras drive all the way down the field. Pin him inside the 5. Give your defense a chance to get a safety. Play Iowa's game better than they do.
Well, here we go. They're going to go for it on 4th and half a yard.
And you mentioned it earlier, Iowa's not afraid to get aggressive in these situations.
McCarthy from the gun, hands off Blake Corum. He dives forward. Did he get it? Yes, sir, he did. A nice initial push by the offensive line, led by the big center, Olu Oluwatimi. 1st down, Michigan.
And that's that push from the Michigan offensive line that we've seen all day today, just moving that front 4 of Iowa. Resetting the line of scrimmage, a yard, 2 yards,
and now that opens up the
field.
opportunity, too, for Jake Moody if Michigan does not get another 1st down. Substitution at the running back position, number 7, Donovan Edwards, back in the game for Michigan. He shifts from the pistol to the left hip of McCarthy. JJ the snap, a handoff to Donovan, and he's brought down from behind.
And something we've seen a lot that hasn't been as common so far this season is Andrel Anthony getting a lot more snaps, it looks like, out wide for the Wolverines. He's been on the field quite a bit here through the first 20 minutes of this game or so.
He entered immediately after Michigan took the shot to Roman Wilson, and he stuck around, but he's being defended by Riley Moss. Not much you can do. Noah Shannon made the stop for Iowa. Pickup of 2 yards, 2nd down and 8. 2 receivers wide right for Michigan. Blake Corum the back off the left hip of McCarthy. Gets a snap, fires to the right sideline, brought down immediately was Roman Wilson. It's a pickup of a couple on the play. Cooper DeJean brings him down. It brings up 3rd down and moderate for the Maize and Blue.
That was a big hit from Cooper DeJean. We're going to keep saying his name all day today. But that's another one of those out routes, those quick outs that McCarthy able to throw. That's a long throw to make.
Right.
And he puts it right on his receiver. Just a great tackle in the open field.
As you can tell now, Iowa's starting to read those out routes just a little bit more. McCarthy in Michigan looks to the near sideline to get the call from the offensive staff. 10 on the play clock. Michigan's got to go. Corum to the right of McCarthy in the shotgun. Leans in. Long snap count. Gets the snap. He'll roll to the right, flip it to Corum. Corum's got to make the cut. He's stuffed. 25-yard line brought down by Benson. The lead blocker was Schoonmaker, and it looks like Michigan's going to trot on the field goal unit with Jake Moody.
And that was just read perfectly by Iowa.
And after slight hesitation, here comes Michigan's field goal unit with Jake Moody to attempt about a 42-yard field goal from the right hash.
Iowa able to read that pitch play perfectly, the option, and nothing going for Michigan there. Great,
it was a loss of 2 yards. Here comes that crowd. Jake Moody kicking in to plenty of rally towels in the student section. Good snap, good hold. The kick is up, and it is good. Michigan, a 10-0 lead over Iowa. The offense stalls out on the final 10 yards to gain, but how about that 4th down decision to go for it? Blake Corum jumps over the line of scrimmage, gets those couple of yards. Michigan settles for 3, 10-0 with 8:28 to play here at Kinnick Stadium.
Harbaugh playing that analytics game. Analytics say go for it in that situation. Harbaugh does, and it pays off for the Wolverines. They can't quite convert for 6, but they make it a 2-score lead here in Iowa City, which is, like we talked about, a 2-score lead against Iowa. That's significant.
And now you play right back with solid defense, which you've been playing so far today. You get Iowa to stall out themselves. Torrey Taylor punts in what we don't see a lot from number 9, the punter, who has jerseys aplenty in the Kinnick Stadium crowd here today. He kicked a touchback, and that helped out Michigan, gave him 20-plus yards of extra field position.
I mean, that's a huge difference. He landed that ball at about the 3-yard line. That's a 17-yard difference between the 3-yard line and the 17. Hawkeyes coverage unit just unable to get down there in time to down it in the field of play, but Torrey Taylor's not going to do that often if you're Michigan. That's a gift that you were able to start at the 20 because he's going to pin you most of the time.
Michigan special teams unit today playing pretty solid as well. The opening kickoff, or the kickoff following the touchdown, as Michigan got the ball first. But Jake Moody's kick was a high fly ball deep to center, and it came down to Caleb Johnson, and he was forced to bring it out. You can still call for a fair catch at the 3, but it looks ultra mighty when you're standing on the green rather than the black end zone, and you're like, okay, I'll take it out now. But Michigan special teams unit, they got down the field fast and made a nice play, and then also the field goal by Jake Moody, which gives Michigan a 2-possession lead.
Absolutely. That's what this Michigan team does. They're solid in all 3 facets. Jay Harbaugh has done a really excellent job with the special teams unit since taking over here at Michigan, and that's been something that they've prided themselves on because their return, and it might not happen this game because Iowa special teams unit is excellent as well, but return man A.J. Henning is one of the best in the country. He took one back earlier this year, and that's something that we consistently see is Wolverines with good offensive field position because A.J. Henning is able to rip off 10, 15, 20, 25-yard returns and set this offense up in positions to be successful.
Yeah, well, from our position where Kelin, Adam, and I are currently sitting at Kinnick Stadium, well, we're outside enjoying what's the best weather we've seen in, 2-3 weeks now, as the temperature completely took a drop-off in Ann Arbor. The weather here in Iowa City, about 70 degrees, sunny, taking it a nice day of football. This is like opening weekend weather for Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's perfect temperature, 68 degrees here in Iowa City. I'm sitting here with the
2 degrees.
WCBN polo on. Feels super comfortable. We're right by the Michigan section, actually, which is a nice treat.
The parents are right in front of us. Now, there are plenty of Michigan fans that are sprinkled within this stripe-out crowd today, but unfortunately for Michigan fans, what do you wear? You're maize and blue. You're sitting in stands that are painted with black and gold. You don't really get the benefit of the doubt. You wear white.
Maize is because the navy is going to blend right in with the black.
Right.
And, yeah, you don't really have another option other than white.
Caleb Johnson says no thank you to the kickoff from Jake Moody. Michigan in front 10-0 here at Kinnick Stadium with 8:28 to play in the second quarter. Michigan outgaining the Hawkeyes 164-45. A long completion from Spencer Petras to Luke Lachey, 26 yards, is over half their offense. We enter a media timeout before turnover of possession, as Iowa will have it first down and 10 at their own 25-yard line on the far side of the field. This is a little bit odd at our position. It's much like the Orange Bowl from last year, where we're perched right in the corner of this end zone, and we got to look a long ways to see the far side compared to Michigan Stadium, where we're right about the 35-yard line, right on the sideline. This is much, much different. It's like we're watching a baseball game and home plate's right under us.
Exactly, and it's awkward, especially when the offense is driving towards us. To get numbers and see where the ball's spotted just because of the angle of where we're at. But it's an awesome opportunity to be here at Kinnick and get to call this game for WCBN Sports. And they're just showing video of Kirk Ferentz from, I think, 2001. I mean, the longest tenured coach in the country. I believe it's 24 years that he's been here at Iowa.
The longest tenured coach at one university. They honor the 2002 Iowa Hawkeyes. Man, how about that game we watched a little bit of last night? 2 of them. We saw a good game with Tulane and Houston. Then we saw another good game. We fell asleep halfway through. But UCLA and Washington, and You know, you made a couple comments about your confidence in Washington following their blowout win against Michigan State and whoever they played last week. And they lost to UCLA in a pretty empty Rose Bowl.
Yeah, they did.
You got to own up to that, by the way, on live air. I'm forcing you to right now.
UCLA looked good, and I didn't believe in UCLA at all.
Don't believe in
Chip Kelly.
DTR and Zach Charbonnet?
I do believe in Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet's a stud, and he has been a stud.
Miss him here, man.
But DTR put a disgusting move along the goal line on 2 Husky defenders that made them look silly.
2 defenders touch noses.
But UCLA could be for real, and I mean, you want to bring it back to the Big Ten. Washington losing like that is not a good look for Michigan State, who got rocked in Seattle by that same Washington team. And so
now here's a big opportunity for Michigan. You get off the field, force Iowa to punt. You then go up 3 possessions potentially. You put yourself in a golden position to win this football game in a great environment.
And you don't want to say 3 possessions would put it out of reach because anything can happen, and there's a lot of time left. But then that puts the Iowa in a position where they need a turnover. They need a defensive or a special team score.
First down and 10 for Iowa. Here's a handoff to Williams, left side. Just kidding. Fakes it to the right side. That's Sam Laporta, the tight end. That's a nice fake by Spencer Petras. He got me, which means he got the Michigan defense. Past the 30-yard line, a pickup of 8 yards. Bring up 2nd down and 2.
And they've really liked to go to that play action. We saw it earlier where they ran a similar concept, play action, get Laporta coming across the field opposite the play action for a nice little pickup there. Those are easy completions for Petras and easy little pickups for this Iowa offense.
Mozzie Smith would have had Williams for a big loss. He realized he did not have the football. Here's a handoff to Williams. He's close to the first down marker after trying the right tackle behind the 6'6" talent of Connor Colby. That'll move the chains for an Iowa first down. Junior Colson and Chris Jenkins on the stop for Michigan.
Hawkeyes able to pick up the first down there, and that's a big pickup to keep the chains moving because these chunk plays have been few and far between so far for Iowa this season. Big Monty Pottebaum in the backfield again at fullback.
Petras gets the direct snap, hands off left side, big hole for Caleb Johnson, who runs across the 50-yard line, barrels over a defender, Makari Page, and Iowa's got it in plus territory, 48-yard line. Big hole opened up, but there's a penalty flag. This one's coming back, Kelin.
And depending on the penalty here, assuming it's coming back, Caleb Johnson almost made me eat my words right there, saying that these big plays have been few and far between, ripping off a big run, but due to the hold, that'll come back.
That's the center from Council Bluffs, Iowa, Logan Jones, the center, who was the guilty party. That negates a large gain for the Hawkeyes. The ball moves all the way back to the 25-yard line. First down and 20.
And Logan Jones, talking about having big shoes to fill. Tyler Lindebaum, the center for the Hawkeyes last season, one of the best in the country, first-round draft pick. Now on the Ravens, playing on Sundays.
2 tight ends in the ball game for Iowa. Petras gets the snap. He wants to throw. Steps up in the pocket. Fires across the middle. Got a wide open receiver. It's Wick. I'm just kidding. That's Brody Brecht, the redshirt freshman. It's close to a first down. I think they need about a yard and a half more to get to that number. 2nd down and a yard, brought down by DJ Turner. And that's not great for Michigan secondary right there. You let Petras have too much time and fires to a wide open man.
And I think that's the key part there, too much time. He was able to sit back there, look, and wait for somebody to get open. That pass rush needs to get home.
Petras gets the snap, hands off to Johnson. Looks like he got the first down. To the right side, Mike Morris was there for Michigan, but he got it. 46-yard line of Iowa, first down.
And that's really been the biggest question for this Michigan defense this year is the pass rush. You lose David Ojabo, you lose Aiden Hutchinson. Who's going to step up and fill that void? And it's likely not going to be 1 or 2 guys. It's going to be a committee of guys, but this Wolverine pass rush needs to get home and get after Spencer Petras.
Eye set for Petras in Iowa. Hand off to Johnson. He's got the edge, plenty of space. He's close to the first down, but there's another flag down. This one might be coming back again. Plenty of boos coming down from 69,000 plus here at Kinnick Stadium. Iowa's offense makes the move back. Michigan might get another favor. You don't hear that a lot, tripping on the offense. Now, we don't have our awesome field and referee microphone that we usually have at the big house today because we're outside in the corner of Kinnick Stadium. But the head official, Mike Klasinski, makes the call. And that'll move it back. DJ Turner was on the stop of Caleb Johnson. The penalty brings up first down and 25. And here's where Michigan needs to batten down the hatches and play good defense.
Absolutely. First and 25. This Iowa team is not built to pick up these large chunks of yards. If you're Michigan, you need to get off the field here. This needs to be a stop. Get the ball back to your offense. And don't let Iowa move the ball all the way down the field to put their star punter, Torrey Taylor, in position to pin the Wolverines inside the 10, inside the 5. There's
a second Iowa timeout of this half. They have one remaining. Michigan's got all three. Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines in front 10-0. 5:42 to play here at Kinnick Stadium in the first half. Michigan and Iowa locked up in a pretty solid football game. 2-possession lead for the Maize and Blue.
And we talked about at the top of the broadcast and on our way over here how fast this game might fly by. We're about an hour into the game.
We're an hour straight.
And
this game started at 11:06 a.m.
5:42 to go in the second quarter. That's what happens when you have a lot of handoffs, a lot of easy complete passes, not a lot of shots downfield.
What Michigan really does not want to do is allow Iowa to score any points on this drive, because this drive, realistically for Iowa, if they have a successful one, could take the rest of the half. And the way they play offense, you get about a play and a half, a play and a quarter per minute now with the 40-second play clock.
Yeah, and especially considering it's first and 25 here. You have three chances to stop them from getting 25 yards. You cannot give this up if you're Michigan's defense. You want to get this stop and give the ball back to your offense and give them a chance to go score before the half ends and make this a 3-possession game potentially.
Michigan and Iowa, the Wolverines at 4-0. Iowa at 3-1. This is Michigan's first road game of the year. Iowa's fourth home game of the year. They've gone on the road one time. That was last weekend, where they traveled to Piscataway, New Jersey, and beat Rutgers 27-10. 2 defensive touchdowns in that ball game for the Hawkeyes. Their defense is for real, but they're being exposed a little bit here today. One massive mistake, not necessarily massive. There's not really much you can do about a trip between the offensive lineman and your quarterback. That happens once in a while. But Michigan, they just have to capitalize on good possessions and not stall out. They've stalled 2 different times now.
Yeah, and when you talk about this Iowa defense getting exposed, as you said, people have talked a lot about Michigan's schedule to start the season and that their numbers on both sides of the ball may be inflated due to lack of competition. I mean, Iowa's defense, the best offense they've faced is Iowa State, Rutgers maybe. I mean, their opponents have been South Dakota State, Nevada, Iowa State, and Rutgers. I mean, that's not a real daunting schedule in itself. No legit powerful offenses through those first 4. So Michigan's the first real legit offense they've seen. And by legit, how about best scoring offense in the nation through 4 weeks?
Well, they meet their match here today with Iowa's defense. And their defense averages 4.5 points scored per game,
which is an outrageous number. Outrageous to be putting up.
2 safeties week 1. The fumble return for 6 last week against Rutgers, and also the pick 6. 31-yard line for Iowa inside their own territory. It's first down and 25 following the tripping penalty on the right tackle, Connor Colby. Petrus from the shotgun. Here comes pressure from Michigan. Fires left sideline, looking for Reganey. It's brought in. Nice catch. Mike Sainristil still cut the legs out from under him. Brings the ball up to the 42-yard line.
And I'm going to keep saying it, Zach. This pass rush needs to get home. Spencer Petrus has plenty of time back there to sit back, wait for somebody to get open, and deliver a strike. Now, he hasn't been accurate on all of his attempts downfield, but when you're giving a Big Ten quarterback, I don't care who it is, that clean of a pocket, they're going to hurt you.
11 yards on the pickup. They split 3 receivers wide to the right. Petrus gets a snap. He'll hand off to the running back. Junior Colson plants him into the ground. There was a Sean Williams on the call. Iowa likes to mess around with those backs. They have 3 talented ones: Gavin Williams, LaShawn Williams, and Caleb Johnson. Yabi Oki makes the tackle for the Maize and Blue as he was able to shed away the tight end Sam Laporta. 3rd down and 12.
And trying to block Yabi Oki with the tight end, that typically isn't going to end well for your offense. Brian Ferentz is learning that quickly.
The receiving back, Gavin Williams, now into the backfield. Petrus gets the snap. He wants to throw on 3rd down and long. There's a screen. Taylor Upshaw tears him to the ground from behind. Nice play by 91. I see you. He brought down Gavin Williams. That'll bring up 4th down. Michigan will get the ball back.
Great open field tackle there by Upshaw. And how about Yabi Oki? We just said his name on the previous play. He was right in Spencer Petrus's face as he delivered that ball, applying pressure to the quarterback, and the Wolverines able to get off the field.
And what's Jim Harbaugh said all week about Yabi Oki? He's revved up. He's going to continue to get those reps at the defensive end position and play that similar role to David Ojabo a year ago.
And on a situation like it just was there, 3rd and extra long, you know a pass is coming. That's the perfect spot for him to come in, pin his ears back, and just say, go get the quarterback.
On 4th and 15, Michigan almost gets to the punter. Taylor punts it away. Henning will return it from his 9-yard line. Picks up a block, scampers away from one defender, scampers away from another, almost lost the football, but he's brought down at the 22-yard line. Kyler Fisher makes the tackle for Iowa. Will enter immediate timeout. 3 minutes, 29 seconds for Michigan to try and drive down Duke Slater Field at Kinnick Stadium, leading by 10 before halftime.
Awesome return there from A.J. Henning. Broke a couple of tackles, got slippery there. So evasive. I think he's one of the best in the country in that punt returner spot. He just has such great balance on his feet.
He's a man covered in Vaseline.
Exactly. He'll get hit, and he'll stay on his feet. He'll stumble a little bit, but he won't go down, and he'll pick up an extra 6, 7, 8 yards like he just did there.
Now Michigan in front, 10-0. Kelin, is this what you expected here in this first half?
I don't know that it's necessarily exactly what I expected, but I definitely thought in my head there was a handful of ways that this game was going to play out. And this was definitely one of the ways. Is Michigan's offense moves the ball, they're conservative, they take a shot here and there, but they ultimately are just pretty surgical, I would say, really for that first drive, and the defense stays stout.
You know, that first drive, there's always something extra that goes into that first drive. Those are the scripted plays for the offensive play calling staff. It's been an incredible season so far for really the trio of Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, and Matt Weiss, who all have plenty of coaching experience, and I wouldn't doubt if both Moore and Weiss ended up being head coaches somewhere here in the near future, especially Sharon Moore. Boy, oh boy, is he a good coach for the offensive line. Co-offensive coordinators, Weiss and Moore, have done just such a good job.
And you talk about Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore has done an excellent, excellent job as this offensive line coach for Michigan. The Wolverines in 2020 had a lot of issues with that offensive line in the COVID year. Then Jim Harbaugh does a complete overhaul of the coaching staff, brings in Sharon Moore to coach that offensive line unit. And what do you have? The best offensive line in the country his first year, and another extremely solid group in year 2 for Sharon Moore.
Media timeout, close to concluding here. Game being broadcasted live on television. Big noon kickoff on Fox by the legendary Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. But where else would you rather be?
With WCBN Sports.
WCBN Sports Ann Arbor. Zach Linfield here, Kelin Flynn to my right. Michigan takes the field, going away from our first position in the near end zone, placed up in the corner, right next to the Michigan friends, family, fans.
And this is a big offensive drive for this Michigan offense and J.J. McCarthy. Nationally televised game on Fox. Can McCarthy drive down the field, put the Wolverines up 3 scores against one of the best defenses in the country in a hostile environment?
Remember, Iowa will get the ball in the second half to begin. Corum in motion. Quick flare out to the right side. Corum's got some space to the 25-yard line, makes a cut up towards the 30. He drags one defender. Solid gain on the play for Michigan. The linebacker, Jay Higgins. He made his way all the way out to the far sideline after Corum picks up 8.
And Corum is just so silky smooth on those cuts. And then powerful at the point of attack when he makes contact with the defenders, keeps those legs driving, picks up an extra yard or two.
2nd down and 2. Clock veers under 3 minutes from Kinnick Stadium. Michigan in front by 10. Here's a handoff to Corum. He finds a crease. He's got the first down. Got it by about a yard before being stood up by the linebacker, Jack Campbell. Boy, did we hear plenty about Jack Campbell and Riley Moss throughout the week, didn't we?
Absolutely, and when Jack Campbell's name was called when they were doing the pregame introductions, he got a big roar of applause from this home Iowa crowd. Iowa kid, fan favorite here in Iowa City.
Michigan's now leaped over that 100-yard mark on the ground with Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, and J.J. McCarthy. 2:20 to play in the half. Michigan in front by 10. From the right hash, McCarthy the snap, leans in, steps up from the pocket, throws across the middle, got it complete. Corum brought down by Benson as pressure came to his backside. It was tipped by a defensive lineman but fell right into the breadbasket of number 2.
And you just mentioned the rush yards, over 103 rush yards to 73 passing yards for Michigan. Some people may have thought with J.J. McCarthy now starting at quarterback that this offense was going to be a completely different type of offense from last year. This is still the same kind of identity, just with a little more explosiveness in the passing game.
Michigan playing pretty conservative. Long time getting to the line. Here's a handoff to Corum. He finds the smallest of creases as he nears the 40, pushes his way to the 44-yard line. That'll be good for a Michigan first down. And they got to go a little bit quicker now, don't they? Quinn Schulte on the stop for the Hawkeyes.
But how about Trevor Keegan coming in there and moving that pile for an extra 5 yards
and
there
he's
for
been
Michigan.
banged up, too. Now here comes the tempo from the maize and blue. And the famed wing helmets, their white tops and blue pants. McCarthy the snap. Fakes the throw left, goes deep down the sideline. Got Anthony past the 30-yard line. Guess who Andrell just beat? The All-American Riley Moss down the near sideline. Big pickup from 9 to number 1.
Yeah, and Andrell Anthony just got behind Riley Moss, number 33 there on that left side. I don't really know what happened there. He just beat the coverage, and JJ delivers a strike.
26-yard line, here's a handoff. Now JJ keeps it to the right end. He tries to get to the sideline. He's pushed out from behind by DeJean. There is no flag down. The Michigan fans right in front of us wanted one. And now there's a penalty marker down. This will likely be a hold, I believe, on the receiver on the far side of the field, Darius Clemens.
And the freshman put in the game in the 2-minute drill, gets called for a hold. Costly mistake for Michigan.
That's the freshman from Portland, Oregon, highly recruited, highly touted wide receiver that was brought here by Andrell Anthony. They grew up neighbors in East Lansing before Clemens made the move in his youth. Andrell Anthony reached out to him, and now he's playing here in Ann Arbor. Recruited a lot by Georgia as well. That says a lot about Michigan and especially Andrell Anthony's recruiting. 33-yard line, first down and 17 for Michigan. McCarthy from the pocket, hit from behind, throws incomplete. Luke Schoonmaker was his intended receiver, and Schoonmaker gingerly walks back to the huddle. That'll bring up 2nd down and 17. With the ball on the 33 right now, that'd be about a 49-yard attempt for Jake Moody, which is doable, but you'd like to get him much closer with 53 seconds to play.
And Luke Schoonmaker hobbling off the field there. Not a good sign for Michigan. Already a little bit thin at tight end with no Eric All today.
Michigan in front by 10 points. 53 seconds to play second quarter. Quarterback McCarthy from the shotgun, leans in, gets the snap, wants to throw, fires across the middle, incomplete. There's a late flag. Ronnie Bell, the intended receiver. Michigan's going to get a gift here from the back judge.
Hawkeye fans not a fan of that call. Late flag.
That's the linebacker, Sebastian Castro. He was in coverage of Ronnie Bell, and yeah, Kelin, he was draped all over him.
And that's a call that you can see go either way. There was definitely some contact. Sometimes they'll let that one go. Flag comes out this time. And on the 2nd and 17, that's an extra big penalty because now Michigan gets a new set of downs.
First down, Michigan, gift wrap from Iowa. An early Christmas present for the Maize and Blue. From the 29-yard line, first down, McCarthy hands off Corum. He's got space to the 20-yard line, and he's dragged down from behind. A late stop by Jack Campbell.
Tackle by Jack Campbell.
Bring up second down and 2.
All 3 timeouts remaining for Michigan.
There's the first. It's good awareness by you, knowing they have those timeouts still.
Well, and when you have those timeouts, it allows Michigan to continue to run the ball with Corum and Edwards, and it doesn't make them one-dimensional. When you have only 1 timeout remaining in this kind of situation under a minute left, you feel like you got to throw because you can't let that clock run.
Now, go inside the mind of Kirk Ferentz for a moment if you can. You're down by 10. Let's say Michigan scores here, either a field goal or a touchdown, especially if it's a touchdown. What's going through your mind if you're Kirk and Brian Ferentz, if you're down by that much going into the half?
You need your defense to make a turnover. That's kind of the
Get that
hallmark
ball out.
of this Hawkeye team is they force turnovers. They're opportunistic. You need your defense to come up with a big play at home against the top 5 team because Michigan has been very, very surgical and precise to start this game in this first half.
An efficient first down pickup for Blake Corum on the ground. Second down and 2 following the timeout. Michigan splits the hashes. McCarthy hands off Corum. Boy, does he find another crease. He's brought down by Moss on the outside along with Benson. To the 15-yard line, first down Michigan, they pick up 6.
And he hits the hole so hard and just keeps those legs turning.
McCarthy already in the shotgun, set up. Flood concept to the right sideline. McCarthy throws it, got it complete. Wilson, a pickup of just a handful of yards. And Michigan will call a timeout. 3 yards on the gain from McCarthy to Wilson. And he was draped in coverage by DeJean.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive throw there from J.J. McCarthy. Cooper DeJean all over Roman Wilson. McCarthy still able to fit it in there, and a nice grab by Roman Wilson with the hands.
So Michigan now uses their second of their 3 timeouts as they're to the 12-yard line. You're Jim Harbaugh now. I'll flip the coin. What do you go with here? Do you keep trying to use it through the air? Maybe a delayed handoff with Blake Corum?
I think you want to get J.J. McCarthy rolling out, and they just did something there, and it was covered well by Iowa. But maybe a little play action, get J.J. McCarthy rolling out, and get your receivers moving with and force the defense to react to J.J. McCarthy.
We've seen Luke Schoonmaker very involved in these past 2 weeks. 1 catch today for the big tight end.
And good to see him back out on the field.
Second down and 7, 12-yard line, 24 seconds to play. McCarthy rolls out looking for Schoonmaker. Boy, oh boy, did he take a risk, and it falls safely to the turf. Schoonmaker was at the 5-yard line, covered by 3 different Hawkeyes. That brings up 3rd and 7.
And J.J. McCarthy gets lucky there. 3 black jerseys around Luke Schoonmaker. Luckily, that ball falls to the turf harmlessly, but those are the types of plays that the Hawkeyes like to jump on and stun your drive.
First one in coverage for the Hawkeyes was Schulte, a free safety covering Michigan's tight end. 3rd down, 7 yards to play, 20 seconds remaining in the half, 5 on the play clock for JJ in Michigan. Got to get the snap off here. Pumps his left leg. Play clock's dead. Penalty flag in the back of the end zone. And I don't think Michigan got the time off. Timeout in time. Delay a game, Michigan. Did they get the timeout off?
With the penalty, it brings up a 3rd and 12 at the 17.
Michigan huddles up on the near sideline. Jim Harbaugh, I'm positive, thought he got that timeout off. Now the play clock's going to wind down below 15. Michigan, they got to move, Kelin.
They do, and or else they're going to get another delay of game.
And the referee's not allowing JJ to get the snap off now. Pumps his leg. He's got to get the snap off soon. 2 on the play clock. McCarthy's got it. Going to drop the throw. Taking a shot. Deep left corner of the end zone. It's incomplete. Could have been a flag down, but Roman Wilson was covered up nicely by Castro. Jake Moody will get another turn.
Tight coverage there from Sebastian Castro.
I think that was more a PI than the other one.
I would agree. And I like the decision there from J.J. McCarthy. Shot to the corner of the end zone, away from the defender. If your receiver makes a play, he makes a great play. Otherwise, just let your All-American kicker, your Lou Groza Award winner, Jake Moody, come out and put 3 points on the board.
6 of 8 so far this season. Has a chance for another one. Decent snap, good hold, kick up, and it's a beauty. Center cut, Michigan in front 13-0. 9 seconds to play in the second quarter. Iowa will get this kickoff, and they will also get the kickoff following halftime.
That's a great drive from Michigan. Even though they don't punch it in for 6 points to extend the lead to 17, you still come away with points, and that's a drive under essentially a 2-minute drill, going down the field, putting points on the board in a hostile environment with your young quarterback. Now, did Michigan have some mistakes that maybe prevented them from putting it in for 6? Absolutely, but you take those 3 points in this kind of environment every day of the week.
Michigan's had 4 drives. They've scored on 3 of them. On the other drive, there was a 5-yard trip and fall by J.J. McCarthy, and even that drive got inside Iowa territory. Michigan's moving the football, they're just not converting at this point in time. 13-point lead for the Wolverines, 9 seconds to play over the Iowa Hawkeyes here from Kinnick Stadium on WCBN's coverage of Michigan football. And right now what you're playing for, if you're Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, boot this ball through the back of the end zone, have Petrus take a knee, and take it to the locker room.
Absolutely. Go into halftime with a 13-point lead. Your defense has been tremendous. Your offense hasn't turned the ball over. They've been consistent. I think you're very pleased if you're the Michigan coaching staff.
Iowa, even with their 1 timeout remaining, don't think it'll matter. Moody lines it up, and he boots this one through the back of the end zone here at Kinnick Stadium. Michigan and Iowa will line up and do it one more time here in the first half. You would expect Petrus here to take a knee and close out the half down 13.
I think that's definitely the expectation. 9 seconds, 1 timeout. You're not driving down the field. No sense in taking any kind of risk here.
Michigan a touchdown and 2 field goals is the lead. 13-0 from Kinnick Stadium here in Iowa City. The Wolverines hit the road for the first time here in 2022. Petrus in the old victory formation, but no, they're going to run a trick play to the right side. It's swallowed up by Michigan. I mean, boy, oh boy, they gave it a shot. LaShawn Williams got an end-around type handoff with the whole convoy of Iowa linemen. And how do you think Jim Harbaugh is going to feel about that one going into the pink locker room?
I'm not really sure. I think he's probably a little bit ticked off, maybe.
Dazed and confused about
it. Was just a weird play call from Brian Ferentz. But nevertheless,
I mean, why not give it a shot? You're down 13. Your offense hasn't done much today. 91 total yards of offense compared to Michigan's 236. But that takes us to halftime. 30 minutes have come and gone from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa. Michigan in front 13-0 in a daunting stripe-out environment here in downtown Iowa City. Well, Kelin, let's kind of rehash the first half a little bit. You had a tremendous call the first quarter. Great job.
Thank you.
You had the only touchdown call of the game so far, which was a Ronnie Bell end around here in the near end zone. That Michigan score was on their first drive of the game, the very first drive of the game, with 9:53 left on the clock. Iowa, they haven't had great offense. They've moved the ball twice, and they've stalled out both times. Both times they stalled out on those good possessions. The other 2 possessions have resulted in 1 first down and a punt. Michigan 2 field goals besides that 1 punt inside Iowa territory. But it's been really good for Michigan. Who stood out for you in that first half?
Well, I think for Michigan, it has to be the offensive line as a whole. I mean, this Michigan offensive line was dominant at the line of scrimmage against a very good Iowa front 7. I mean, that entire group, getting Trevor Keegan back is a huge boost, but that entire group was just dominant, forceful, and they controlled the line of scrimmage whenever Michigan was on offense. And that really, really impacted this game. And I think is the big reason Michigan has 13 points up on the board is because that offensive line was so dominant and so controlling.
Now we flip the script with Iowa. Want to talk about maybe a player on either side that stood out for you quite a bit, maybe besides the tight ends, because we know the impact that the tight ends have, Laporta and Lachey, although they've been relatively quiet outside that one long reception to Lachey. For me, I'm going to go with Seth Benson. He's saved about 2 touchdowns now for Michigan, just getting Blake Corum by the ankle, by the shoelaces, and bringing him down to the turf on Duke Slater Field. Who was it for you for Iowa that stood out?
I think for Iowa, it has to be LaShawn Williams. He's been their only kind of offense so far. He's had a couple of nice runs.
The longest play was brought back.
He's been the only one that's gotten anything going for them, and I think that he's somebody that they need to try to feature more in this second half, because the only thing that they've been able to get going offensively is from LaShawn Williams, outside of the tight ends.
Today, the band celebrates the legacy.
Well, something we haven't seen so far much this season, and just kind of coming to my head now, is the teams Michigan has played against in their 4 games so far this season, they have not been penalized a lot. Iowa's been penalized pretty heavily in this game. 3 penalties for 29 yards, but all 3 of them have been pretty big. The pass interference on the final drive here for Michigan, which would have made it 3rd down and long. The long pickup by LaShawn Williams, and then the other holding penalty that ailed Iowa's last drive before handing it back to Michigan. Michigan's been penalized 3 times for 25 yards. There's a hold by Darius Clemens on that last drive, which really stalled that offense in the red zone. And then finally, the delay of game, which Michigan, that's just a mistake by J.J. McCarthy not getting the playoff in time. But when it comes to penalties, it seems like they're playing a pretty significant role in this game so far.
Yeah, and to Michigan's credit, they've been very disciplined this year in terms of penalties. They haven't shot themselves in the foot and gave their opponents chances when the defense already earns a stop, give the offense a chance to get back on the field. Iowa, on the other hand, has given Michigan a couple of free passes, a couple of chances to get down the field, and Michigan's capitalized on some of those. And that's something that Kirk Ferentz and his coaching staff is going to need to clean up in the second half. And if you're the Michigan coaching staff, you're thrilled with how disciplined your team's played so far.
Before we hand it over to Adam Bressler to finish out halftime coverage, let's talk keys to the second half, Kelin. First, we'll start with Iowa. Your Kirk Ferentz, Brian Ferentz, go into the locker room on the far side of the field. What are you telling your team as you head into halftime?
I think offensively you've had some success targeting these Michigan linebackers with your tight ends. You have to keep going back to that. Get your tight ends moving, get them in creative situations, and give Spencer Petras easy throws to make down the field, because this is not a team that is built to have explosive plays on the outside of their receivers. They play within the numbers with their running backs and their tight ends. Get your 2 solid tight ends in Lachey and Laporta the ball more. And on the flip side for the Iowa defense, I think they've been solid. I don't know really what more you can ask. You got to get to McCarthy more and try to win the line of scrimmage, because the Michigan running game has been dominant so far.
And that offensive line has been spectacular for Michigan. Let's flip that coin one more time and talk about Michigan. The keys to the game on both sides of the ball to finishing out these last 30 minutes and leaving Iowa with the win, something you have not done since 2005.
I think for the offense, it's simple. It's turnovers. Don't turn the ball over. We listened to local sports radio. They said 2 was the number of turnovers. If you go more than 2, you're done. Michigan did a great job in that second half not putting the ball in harm's way. You got to keep that up. This Iowa team feeds off of turnovers. Don't give it to them. And then for the defense, it's getting home to Spencer Petras. That's the key. It's as simple as that. Make Spencer Petras uncomfortable, because when Spencer Petras is uncomfortable, it's going to be really difficult for him to make plays down the field.
I think it's a little bit confusing to me, Kelin, why Iowa has not stuck with LaShawn Williams a little bit more on the ground, because they saw that one long pickup down that far sideline before the tripping penalty, and they haven't gone back to him again.
And before that, he's had I think he had a 7 or 8 yard carry up the middle as well. He's been their most consistent offensive threat outside of the tight ends.
They're leaving Gavin Williams and Caleb Johnson, I think, in that rotation a little bit too much. If I'm Brian Ferentz, I might lean on LaShawn Williams a little bit more. Kelin, you're going to stick around for the rest of halftime. I'm going to go take a quick break, hand the microphone over to Adam Bressler. Before we get set for the second half from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, the score, Michigan 13, Iowa 0 with 13:30 left before kickoff. Adam?
Yeah, and we're very pleased to welcome in Adam to the broadcast here. Adam, what did you pick up in that first half, sitting just kind of observing, making sure the broadcast is going smoothly, that maybe we haven't mentioned so far?
Yeah, so Michigan, let's begin with Iowa, in fact. Iowa's offense is everything they were built up to be. I remember early in the second quarter, got a good drive, a couple of penalties, and then one big play right up the middle, got Iowa onto Michigan's territory. It was looking like Iowa could tie it up potentially. Spencer Petras drops back for 3 straight passing attempts. All 3 of them had wide open men, just sailed right over. You can't win a game like that. The only chance they have to win a game is like last week when the defense took matters into their own hands, got some touchdowns. But for Michigan on the other side, the good is that they've consistently moved the ball down, kept the chains moving. On several drives, they had a string of plays where it was just first down, first down, first down, which you love to see. The bad is they were struggling to punch it in from the red zone, had to settle for 2 field goals. And J.J. McCarthy, I don't know. He still has another half to play, another 30 minutes ahead of us, but I don't know what I'd rate his performance at. Probably a B or so far. He's being a good game manager. Missed some potential touchdown passes. They weren't wide open, but they could have, with a more skilled throw, could have made it happen. And I just haven't loved what I've seen from his decision-making. He seems to be too scripted at this point.
And that pass down the field into the far end zone to Roman Wilson is likely what you're referencing in terms of that shot down the field, because that was a big opportunity for Michigan to take a 2-score lead. On the flip side of that, McCarthy has also put the ball in harm's way a couple of times with some tight window throws that haven't really come back to bite the Wolverines, but have really been risky throws that can go the other way in favor of the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, and this isn't the game where you need to do the risky throws. As I mentioned, Michigan is doing an awesome job just driving it, pounding it forward with quorum, moving the ball, moving the chains, and that's all the team needs at this moment. They don't need these risky slot threads. They don't need these deep passes for gains of 30, 40 yards. They just need to keep playing their style of play and keep the ball moving and the chains moving.
And I think with how this offensive line's been playing, you don't want to say Michigan's going to play not to lose in the second half. You don't ever want to do that.
I'd say that.
But I think if you're Michigan, there's no need to open it up a lot in the second half. Your offensive line's been dominant. Keep working that, mix in the play action pass to keep the defense honest, but I think you really need to lean on your running backs in this second half and try to just wear down this Iowa defense. Take your shots sparingly when the moment arises, but this is an Iowa defense that doesn't like to give up the long pass down the field.
Yeah, Iowa, as we mentioned, one of the best defenses in the league. So for Michigan to have 13, essentially 2 possessions here, 2 touchdowns essentially, that's got to be a, I guess, success. You would have liked to see a touchdown, especially on that final drive where they brought it into the 12, just unable to punch it in, and they had 4 shots to do so. But I can't complain if I'm Harbaugh, if I'm going in up 13 at halftime. Obviously, 13 isn't insurmountable. You get 1 pick 6, it's a 1-possession game, it's a 1-play game at that point. But Michigan is definitely in the driver's position. If they just keep playing their game, keep up the game plan they presented earlier, they should be all set to head back to Ann Arbor 5-0.
And still a lot of football left. 30 minutes to go here, a whole second half ahead of us. But Michigan has looked the part so far of a top 4 team, coming into a very hostile environment where we've talked about it ad nauseum, where so many teams that have been highly ranked have come in and suffered at the hands of this Iowa team and Kirk Ferentz. Michigan has held their own. They've been solid, they've been effective, they've been precise. And I think, again, if you're this Michigan coaching staff or you're a Michigan fan watching this game, you're very pleased with how the first half went.
I have a question for you because you were directly on the broadcast team for the first half. What is your opinion on some of the referees' calls or lack thereof that we've seen so far in this game.
I just got another angle from one of our coworkers, Amir Bektash. He's here for one of his other stations. Sent me a video of that last pass into the corner to Roman Wilson to end the half. And it wasn't super egregious PI, but it could have been called. And I think there's been, for the most part, it's been solid, but there's been a couple of calls that maybe haven't been consistent is the right word.
What was that tripping call earlier from Iowa, too, that really took the wind out of their drive?
Just plays that they're shooting themselves in the foot. You can't have that if you're the Hawkeyes. You can't give this yourself, put yourself behind the sticks, give yourself second and long, third and long, because you know the way your team is built. It's not built to overcome those kind of down and distances. So you need to set up third and short if you're the Hawkeyes. Give yourself running and passing. Open up the whole playbook. Don't let Michigan put in their pass rushing specialists and just come after Petrus. You need to keep the defense honest.
I agree. Quickly, before we return to second half of coverage of Michigan and Iowa City, we'll take you around the country with a halftime scoreboard update. First, I think we got to mention a potential upset brewing. Minnesota Golden Gophers, ranked 21st coming into this game, are trailing to who other than Purdue, the spoiler makers, so to speak. It's not much. Purdue only leads 10-3, but I think if Minnesota loses this, it'll be another case of the spoiler makers making their mark on that Big Ten West.
And absolutely, that's a big-time matchup. The Golden Gophers struggling offensively. That's a game where Minnesota needs to win. Minnesota has all the potential and the ability to win this Big Ten West with what's been happening so far. They don't have to play Michigan. They don't have to play Ohio State. That's a game that Minnesota can't really afford to drop.
I agree. Another Big Ten update. We got Illinois playing Wisconsin, fighting Illini up 14-10 with 9 seconds left in the first half. That'll probably be another upset, too. Wisconsin is not had some great start to the season, but these two Big Ten West teams fighting it out for maybe a potential bowl push later in the season. This game could have some implications on that. Outside of the Big Ten rather, we got Kentucky playing Mississippi. Mississippi leads 19-12 at halftime. Next up, we got Texas Tech versus Kansas State, and Kansas State is leading 13-10.
And the big one here, how about the Horned Frogs of TCU, Texas Christian University?
Yeah, they're leading Oklahoma 34-17. And there's still 7 minutes left in that first half, so it could get even nastier. TCU currently with possession. So I think Oklahoma's likely going to be unranked after this weekend. But for those just tuning in, Michigan's doing what needs to be done to go into Kinnick and avoid another top 5 upset, as Harbaugh mentioned in his presser on Monday. That was a big storyline coming into this one. And Michigan so far doing what needs to be done. 236 total yards, pretty evenly split between rushing and passing for the Wolverines. Only 91 total yards for the Hawkeyes, and 2/3 of those came in the air from Spencer Petrus.
And I think Iowa's done a good job of making Michigan uncomfortable offensively, especially in the passing game. But on the ground, Michigan's been able to get whatever they want, whenever they want. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards have been very, very consistent and just solid as they come on the ground so far for Michigan. Keeping good hold of that football, not putting it on the ground. Michigan's put themselves in a good position through one half of football.
Yep, and I think the difficulty as we advance into the second half is going to be how can Michigan win this without getting too complacent? What risks do they need to take versus just playing it safe and not giving Iowa a chance to get back in this one?
And I'd expect Iowa to come into this second half with really nothing to lose. I mean, you're not a ranked team. You're down 13 at home. This is your stripe out day. Go for it on fourth down. Bring out some trick plays. Do a fake punt. pull something. Kirk Ferentz has to pull something out to get this crowd back into it, get some energy back in this stadium, some wind in their sails, so to speak, because it's been dead after Michigan has just kind of lulled them to sleep offensively, and the Iowa offense hasn't been able to get anything going.
Yep, props to the Iowa fans. Came out in full force today. Not an open seat in sight. Did a very good job with the striped section seating. I know that could be kind of tough to pull off and to coordinate. But you look into this, I guess, west bleachers, and you got black, yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow all across. And with that, the Hawkeyes come out of the locker room for the second half, looking to make some adjustments and turn this game around. It's not over yet, still a close one. Michigan leads 13-0 as we have 2 minutes, 35 seconds left until the start of the third quarter.
And with that, I will be hopping off the call, give the headset back to Zach Linfield, who will be on play-by-play for the second half. Zach, take it away.
30 minutes to play. Kinnick Stadium, Iowa City, Iowa. Michigan on the road for the first time in 2022. The Iowa Hawkeyes, plus their steel curtain defense, they looked flawed in the first half. Adam Bressler, 13-0 Michigan. This would be a big victory for Michigan to walk away with.
You are absolutely right. I know Iowa's unranked, but it's always difficult coming into this stadium. Since 2017, only 2 stadiums in the Big Ten Michigan has yet to secure a win in on the road. We got the Horseshoe, obviously, and then we got Kinnick Stadium. You mentioned this many times in the first half. It's been since 2006 when Michigan last came on the road into the Hawkeye State and won this game in this venue, looking to get that monkey off their shoulders and win this game right now.
Michigan and Iowa. Michigan played a solid first half of offense, Adam, something maybe people didn't expect with how good this Iowa defense is. They're outgaining the Hawkeyes 236-91. Now Iowa, they'll receive the second half kickoff. How big is that for the Hawkeyes and Brian Ferentz's offense to try and get something started against a Michigan defense that today has looked only flawed when it comes to Iowa passing to their tight ends?
Yeah, it's going to be a statement is what is needed from Iowa. They are going to have to come out on that first drive and play solid football and keep the chains moving, take some risky plays, air it out to the tight ends. This is tight end university for a reason. And it's going to come down to the quarterback, Petrus. He's going to have to make some big-time plays that we haven't seen much of so far to this game.
You want to talk about tight end, you Detroit Lions tight end TJ Hawkinson, 49ers tight end George Kittle are the two that come to mind right away when you think about the talented tight ends that have played here on the turf below at Duke Slater Field at Kinnick Stadium. 2 quarters, 15 minutes apiece, 30 overall minutes remaining between Michigan and Iowa. Michigan hits the road for the first time this year, and they made a statement in that first half. But now can they sign their signature at the bottom of the page to put a stamp on a big-time victory in a big-time environment?
And with that, Michigan prepares to kick it off to start off this third quarter. Moody preparing for the kick.
Caleb Johnson is deep for Iowa. As Jake Moody lines it up from the 35, right hash, boots it away. No chance for Johnson to return. That welcomes back Spencer Petrus in the Iowa offense, but also maybe a sack-hungry Michigan defense. They were not able to get to the big quarterback in the first half.
Yeah, Michigan's defense is a younger line core, as we've seen since last year, losing not 1 but 2 ends to the NFL. Definitely still adjusting to the new roster.
Iowa huddles at all times. They break the huddle with a fullback. And 1 deep back, LaShawn Williams. Petrus under center. Fakes the handoff to Williams. Drops the throw. Here comes pressure. He's hit. He's going to get sacked. Back at the 16-yard line, Mason Graham pulled him to the ground. Loss of 9 yards on the play.
I feel like you're an oracle. You talked about how sack-hungry this defense is. Very first play. making a statement there. And I said Iowa needs a statement, but an even bigger one made by Harbaugh and the Wolverines on that first play.
In a couple of instances in that first half when Iowa was behind the chains, that's when they provided their best offense, Adam. They had first down at 17, picked it up on the next play. Second down over 20, they picked up 15 plus. Petrus to drop again. Williams was the back, dumps it across the middle. Michigan smells blood in the water. Mike Sainristil Jr. Colson combined on the tackle. They get back to near the original line of scrimmage. They'll bring up third down and 11. 8-yard pickup for the Sean Williams.
This is a huge play for the Hawkeyes. You don't want to go third and out for the second time this game. At least pick up one first down, keep the ball moving, help with possession.
1 minute, 20 seconds into the third quarter. Third down, 11 yards to go from Iowa. Splitting the hashes at their own 24. Petrus the snap. Pressure coming from Michigan. Hit from his backside. Pass incomplete. He wanted Brody Breck, but right there in coverage, hip pocket, Jamon Green. Fourth down.
So far in this second half, -1 yards for the Hawkeyes after that big sack, and it was a split second away from a second sack on that last one.
Remember, Iowa tried some big-time trickery on the final play of that half. They were in victory formation. They ran an end around with LaShawn Williams. Iowa has plenty of trickery up the hat. But for now, Torrey Taylor is in punt formation for the Hawkeyes. Big-time pressure from Michigan coming. He punts it away inside Michigan territory. A.J. Henning has the ball fall right into the breadbasket. The number 3 on the chest in the white jerseys for the maize and blue this afternoon. We'll avoid immediate timeout. 13:23 to play third quarter. Michigan in front by 13.
I feel Iowa just has nothing to lose at this point. They're unranked. This is one of the biggest home games for them. Their season is in the balance here. I feel like they could make a statement here with some trick plays, maybe a fake punt, maybe more like we saw at the end of the half. I know it didn't go anywhere with the ball on their own 30 when they did that.
First down and 10, Michigan. Ball placed at their own 33-yard line left hash. Pistol set for McCarthy with Blake Corum behind him. He brings the tight end Bredesen in motion. Here's a handoff. Corum trying to find a crease. Drives his legs past the 35-yard line, and he's forward to the 37.
This is what Michigan needs to keep doing, chipping away at Iowa. Their defense is legit. They're not going to give up any big-time plays like we saw against Maryland. All you need to just keep it on the ground, get 3, get 4, get 5 yards at a time, and before you know it, this game will be over.
4 yards on first down and 10 for Blake Corum in Michigan. Evans and Shannon combine on the tackle. Here's another call, Blake Corum. He sneaks past one defender. He drives his legs down to up to the 42-yard line. Right there again is Seth Benson. He's had a great day for Iowa, number 44 in the black and gold.
It's going to be 3rd and 1. Seen a couple of short down plays already this game for the Wolverines.
They've been pretty successful at those. 3rd down, a yard to go. Michigan will huddle. Haven't seen that a lot today from Michigan. They'll go shotgun. Couple tight ends in the formation for Michigan. Fake hand clap for McCarthy. Leans in, gets the snap. Handoff Corum. He's got the first down. He falls at the 45 after being twirled to the ground by Jack Campbell and Seth Benson.
Keeps the ball moving. Corum is continuing to sparkle in this one. 88 yards on 19 attempts.
Wolverines in front 13-0. Under 12 minutes to play from Kinnick Stadium, third quarter. Michigan, for the time being, has kind of drowned out the noise from the Iowa faithful. 69,000 plus. McCarthy, the snap, wants to throw. Looks right side, got a complete Schoonmaker after a bobble. 45-40 inside Iowa territory, and the Schoon Chants make their way all the way from Ann Arbor to Iowa City. Another big pickup, first down Michigan to the Iowa 37.
Yeah, with all still out for his second week, Schoon stepped up big time, making a statement for Michigan. And that's huge. Even though he bobbled it, he didn't lose stride. He brought it in and kept going and advanced it for a first down.
McCarthy from the gun. Donovan Edwards, first snap in the second half. Ronnie Bell in motion, right to left. Fakes the handoff. Now throws out, quick to this left side. He's got Bell, spins away at the 30, and he dives forward for a first down. Wow, that's special stuff from number 8 down the sideline. He made 1, 2, 3 Hawkeyes miss, and Michigan moves those chains one more time.
And we've already seen what Bell could do with his feet this game, getting a rushing touchdown to open up this game, and the only touchdown so far from either team.
Man, wouldn't it be nice to see Andrell Anthony put a touchdown in his scoring column in 2022. He split out wide to the left along with Luke Schoonmaker. Another tight end in the game, wide right Bredesen. He's with Darius Clemens, a very inexperienced group on the field outside of Schoonmaker right now. Under 5 on the play clock, Michigan's got to go. Jim Harbaugh races down the sideline and gets a timeout off.
We got the flag thrown for delay of game. I'm curious to see whether they'll call it as a timeout or not.
Michigan gets the timeout off. Mark Klusinski makes the call. He's the crew chief today with this crew in Iowa City. We enter immediate timeout. 10:26 to play, third quarter. Michigan will have it first down and 10, leading by 13 here from Iowa City.
That's just unfortunate for the Wolverines to have to burn their timeout like that. Just on their own fault. It was a miscommunication from the offense. And if this game gets close late in the fourth quarter, that could end up biting them.
And I mean, what did we say as they were lining up to run that down? There was an inexperienced group that's on the field. That includes the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, just in his sophomore season, making his first start on the road in his career. And that's now the second or third time that he's allowed the play clock go all the way down to under 5. And Michigan's either had a delay a game penalty or had to use a timeout.
Talk about sharks being born swimming. Outside of the horseshoe and then maybe Penn State, this might be the third toughest environment on the road.
Right, and he got no snaps at Nebraska last year, and that atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah, being the night game last year in Lincoln. Very similar atmosphere, both in Lincoln and Iowa. Loyal fans through and through.
I mean, how about the Michigan rush defense today? As we look at our stat broadcast monitor in front of us, Iowa only has 14 yards of rushing offense, 76 yards passing, 90 total. Michigan has 276 yards of total offense. And they've been able to dominate Iowa when it comes to comparing the offensive side of the ball.
No one was expecting much from Iowa's offense. I think even if you ask the biggest Hawkeye fans, how do you win this game? They'd tell you it would come at the hands of the defense, either turnovers, either just stopping Michigan, or honestly getting points when they need to and taking matters into their own hands with safeties and with pick sixes, as we've seen so far this season.
Now, I met a gentleman during halftime as we just kind of conversed into the little media area behind us, and he said, you know, I love my Hawkeyes, I love the team, I love the coaching staff, but Kirk Ferentz, he seems like a nice guy. Yeah. And that's kind of how they feel about the coaching staff and their reluctancy to change things on offense in an ever so evolving game of football nowadays.
Yeah. This is Ferentz's 24th season at the helm for the Hawkeyes.
Longest tenured coach.
Yeah, 181 wins with 111 losses while at Iowa.
Michigan's got it, first down and 10 following the timeout. 10:26 to play, third quarter. McCarthy under center. Gets a direct snap, fakes a toss left, hands off to Corum. He tries to get the edge. Jukes inside, Jack Campbell right there to bring him down. Lucky to get a couple on the play. Michigan's going to need 7. Pickup of 3 for Corum.
When Corum succeeded in the Maryland game, it was when he got the edge. He was looking for a very similar play there, just unable to complete it. Iowa probably watch the tape and say, hey, when he makes these movements, when he lines up like this, be ready for him. Don't let him get the outside.
McCarthy from the shotgun. Donovan Edwards back in the game. Had question marks about his status. McCarthy the snap. Fires quick right side. Schoonmaker got the first down to the 15. Nice pickup from McCarthy to Schoonmaker. And he was brought down by Campbell and Higgins. That's another Michigan first down. They're now to the Iowa 15. A touchdown here, Adam, that'd be big-time stuff for Michigan.
Most certainly to go up. But I said the magic number was 20 in the pregame, and this would put them up 20 if they get 7 here.
Donovan Edwards is the lone deep back for Michigan. Ronnie Bell brought in close to the formation. One receiver wide to the left. Here's a handoff to Edwards. He's brought down low. Diving at his feet was John Wagner, the 6'5" senior from Des Moines. No gain on the play, 2nd and 10.
Michigan struggled so far to punch it in this game. They had 2 separate field goals on drives that looked promising to start, but just unable to finish. Going to be a real test here to see if they could get 7 on this drive.
This is one of those drives you need someone to make a play. Who will it be? Blake Corum's back in the backfield. Excuse me, it's Edwards again. He'll get the call. Pick up a 3. I have to bring my words right back. It was Blake Corum in the backfield. They're swapping out Edwards and Corum every other play now. As right back into the game goes Edwards. It's 3rd down and 7. Michigan needs the 5-yard line.
They should not be content with a field goal on this one. I know Moody's the best in the nation, but give him some rest on the bench. They need a touchdown. Keep the offense going.
Michigan needs a touchdown. Iowa needs a stop. From the 12-yard line, McCarthy's got the play clock at 5. Pumps his leg, low snap, rolls out to the right. Pressure coming, McCarthy's gonna tuck it, throw it to the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan! It's Donovan Edwards falling to his backside. What a play by J.J. McCarthy to extend the play. A 12-yard pitch and catch to number 7.
And that's what you love to see from McCarthy, making those sophomore gains. It looked like he was going to scramble at the last possible moment. He stepped back, lobbed it, wide open receiver, and now Michigan leads by 19. Bearing the extra point here, going to be 20.
The officials taking just an extra moment to make sure that it was a catch. Edwards had bobbled it.
I think this will be upheld. I don't see any reason not to. I think maybe, honestly, the bigger question, did he cross the line of scrimmage on the pass?
Edwards bobbled the football, brought it back into his stomach area, but it looked like he brought it back in time. The replay official has made his way off the field. Touchdown, Michigan. It's 19-0. Jake Moody to add the extra one. Wagner snaps a good one. Good hold by Robbins. Kicks up and good. Michigan, a 20-0 lead over Iowa. Here from enemy territory, Kinnick Stadium. Downtown Iowa City, Michigan playing the game they wanted to today, leading by 3 possessions.
I said the magic number would be 20. If Michigan could get there, that's what they need to win. And they got there early in the 3rd quarter. I think Michigan's going to have no trouble hanging on to this victory as long as they can step up on defense and don't leave any openings for Petras and the tight ends for the Hawkeyes.
And if you're Michigan, too, you've got to feel good with how you're forcing Iowa to play the game now. This isn't the game that Iowa's used to playing. They're not used to coming from behind. They're used to being side by side like you and I are right now and playing strong, organized, efficient football. Michigan's kind of taken that out of the situation now for Iowa. They can't play that game. They're going to have to be forced to air the ball out, try and find openings in Michigan's defense. And down by 20 with only 8 minutes left to play in the 3rd quarter, they put themselves in a really bad position to succeed against Michigan.
Yeah, this is going to be tough to come back from. Certainly not insurmountable. At the end of the day, it is 3 possessions, so we've seen a lot crazier things happen in the history of college football, and we've seen a lot crazier things happen in the history of this stadium at Kinnick. But I would be much more comfortable if I'm Coach Harbaugh right now.
It's been a fun day of football at Kinnick Stadium, and I mean, you want to talk about one thing that's not really a part of the game today is the weather.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's beautiful here in Iowa City. I think I might stick around for a little bit longer.
It could
Ignore
be so
them.
hit or miss. First day of October
Right.
in the Midwest in the fall. Could be 70 like it is today. It could be 45 and windy. Fortunately for Michigan and the 69,000 plus fans here in the stadium, Mother Nature was very kind and compassionate in this one.
Even the weather in Ann Arbor right now is just below 70 degrees and sunny for our friends back home. Thank you also for tuning in. WCBN's coverage of Michigan football. Always glad to have you along. Kelin Flynn did a great job in the first half. Adam Bressler, the best collegiate color commentator in the country.
I would
at
not
this
say
point.
that at all. I have zero football experience playing-wise. I feel like at least people who played in high school have more insight than I do. I study the game like it's a religion, but
That's exactly why I
have
love
no personal
having you in the chair next to me.
experience. I'm excited to follow you. We got a couple more games up this season together. We'll be in
Right.
Michigan State at home and Penn State at home, side by side.
The Michigan State Spartans.
Yeah. That
And then
game,
that final trip to Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Can't
you and I will
forget
have the
that one.
opportunity to, well, you won't be with the Big Ten Championship if Michigan were able to make it back, because you'll be in London.
You're right
covering
about
Michigan,
that
Kentucky.
one. Yeah, same weekend, Michigan basketball plays Kentucky from London, England, and I'll be broadcasting for WCBN there.
I'm sure we'll find you at the bowl game.
Yeah,
wherever
regardless,
that may be.
Michigan is 1.5 wins away from a bowl game at this point. Very likely they'll make one, even if it's a pinstripe.
Had a fan mention the Pinstripe Bowl to us before today's game. Jake Moody, a good kick, falls into the near end zone. End zone's painted black in the near side. It's script Iowa. And the other, it reads Hawkeyes. That 69,000 plus has turned down the volume quite a bit now, Adam, as Michigan leads by 20.
Yeah, it's tough to get excited about this offense, to be completely frank. They have under 100 yards moving it. There's not a ton to cheer about.
75 yards to go for Iowa's offense, and Spencer Petras under center. Turns, hands off. Here's Caleb Johnson. He's got some space down the sideline. DJ Turner cuts his legs out after an Iowa first down. Pickup of 11. He got a nice block from the right tackle, Connor Colby, who was hit with a tripping penalty earlier.
And that's how you want to start it for Iowa. If they are going to come back, that was the play they need to get this drive kick-started, get the chains moving, and start to wear out Michigan's defense. That's another thing. Michigan's defense hasn't had to work that hard so far today.
They marked the ball at the 37, so a pickup of 12. Here's another call for Johnson. He's unable to get away from first contact this time. That's the young linebacker, Jimmy Rolder, making the stop for Michigan.
Love to see that from the young linebacker. Makes it 2nd and 8 now. So still a long way to go for the Hawkeyes on this one.
We mentioned it plenty of times. Michigan wants to keep Iowa in 2nd and long, 3rd down and long. Johnson remains the back, the freshman from Ohio. 2 tight ends in the set for Iowa. Wouldn't doubt it if we saw some play action on this down. Petras will hand off to Williams. He's hit, but then brought down a little bit later by Will Johnson. There is a flag down. It came back from the secondary. Don't see this very often if it's going to be a hold.
Especially on a play design like that, to have something in the secondary. It might have just been the back referee spotted something in the action, but curious to see what it's going to be marked as.
Iowa's been penalized 3 times today. That's interesting. It must have been a crack block from the receiver, Nico Reganey. That's the veteran wide receiver for Iowa. And he's hit with an illegal blindside block. That's exactly what happened. He came from the far side, and he ran into the Michigan linebacker, Khalil Mullings, and he put him right on his back. That's a big body to push around. 2nd down and 21 for Iowa following the penalty. So you want to mention putting them behind the sticks. That does just that. 26-yard line for the Hawkeyes. LaShawn Williams is the back in the game. Shotgun snap for Petras. And the play is blown dead. And they're going to get a chorus of boos from a combined 69,250, which is the official capacity of Kinnick Stadium, as the referees blew the whistle dead just to reset the play clock. At one point, this capacity crowd was all joined on their feet. And since many have sat down, as Michigan's in front by 20. Petrus, a shotgun snap. Here comes pressure. Throws right sideline. It's almost intercepted by DJ Turner. That would have been 6 for Michigan. Nico Reganey, the intended receiver. Makari Page and DJ Turner were right there, and boy, oh boy, that might have put it away.
That would have. Not only like on the scoreboard, but just emotionally, just momentumly, to get another 7 on offense that time, or on when Iowa was on offense.
How about that for their own medicine, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Iowa has done that several times this season already, including twice last week.
Time for Michigan's defense to buckle down, get some pressure on Petrus here, 3rd and 21. 26-yard line for Iowa, moving right to left. Petrus from the shotgun. He's hit, he's sacked. Mike Morris got him, the 2nd sack of the half.
2 drives for Iowa, 2 sacks already for Michigan. You mentioned at halftime that the Wolverines had yet to record a sack. They must have heard you directly and started making some changes, and that'll bring the punt team back on the pitch.
That now brings up 4th down and 29. And the talented Australian Tory Taylor has hit the field yet again. A.J. Henning stands back at his own 32. Michigan try and get good field position here. A spiraling, beautiful punt. A.J. Henning back. He's got it. Makes one man miss to the 30-yard line. To the 35. Evades another defender. But there's a flag down. Michigan's going to get penalized for perhaps an illegal block in the back after a good return from A.J. Henning.
Yeah, going to bring back that gain a little bit, but Michigan will retain the ball. That was a bit of a shoestring tackle. I know it won't matter with the flag, but maybe a step or 2 ahead, he would have been at least another 20, 30 yards down the field.
Veteran defensive back Quentin Johnson was penalized for the illegal block in the back, Michigan's 4th penalty of this ball game. Wolverines in front 20-0. 4:48 to play in the 3rd quarter. Michigan, a dominating performance so far from Iowa City at Kinnick Stadium. Don't go anywhere. WCBN's got coverage through the rest of this ball game.
The assignment is very simple for the Wolverines. Come onto the field, chip away at this defense, move it down the field 5, 6 yards at a time. You don't need big plays. You don't need to look deep down the sideline. All you need is to just go, give it to Corum, give it to Donovan Edwards, and move it inch by inch, yard by yard, and then Michigan will have no trouble winning this ball game. They honestly don't even need points in this drive. They just need to take time off the clock. 4 minutes, 48 seconds here in the 3rd, and Michigan, all they need is to chip that down maybe to the 4th quarter. Even if they don't end up getting, obviously points would be best, but they have a very different assignment than what they're used to, especially coming out there trying to score on every possession, get these bang-bang plays, keep the opposing team on their back foot. Not what is needed.
Throws incomplete. Is it behind the line? It is. Donovan Edwards dives on it back at the 3. Oh boy, Iowa almost had a golden opportunity, and Donovan Edwards just falls on it. That's J.J. McCarthy's mistake.
And we talked about this before the game. He was working on avoiding these turnovers.
Absolutely a fumble.
And now Michigan, I said try to chip as much time off the clock as they could get. Right now, just preventing a safeties, priority number 1.
Now here comes the Hawkeye crowd. They all rise to their feet on 3rd down and 28 yards to go. 3-yard line for Michigan. Donovan Edwards makes perhaps the biggest play of the game. Simple handoff. Blake Corum finds a small crease, finds his way to the 8, and he's taken down there. Oh boy. Ethan Herkett on the stop.
That one play could have been devastating. Without the heads-up recovery, Iowa could have scooped and scored, get right back into this ball game. Apologies for those tuning in. We cut out for approximately 20 seconds there. Should be all set now. We're on the Iowa Wi-Fi network, and that had a little bit of a sputter, but we're back live streaming from Kinnick Stadium.
Brad Robbins in punt formation for Michigan. Script Hawkeyes in the far end zone. He splits the W. 9-1, boots it away. Decent kick. Takes a Iowa hop out of bounds, and Iowa, they're going to take over in plus territory. The official mark is the 44-yard line of Michigan, and the Hawkeyes are going to have a great opportunity here following the media timeout.
Yes, they will. They've struggled to move the ball down the field on offense, so I guess they got to expect their defense to do that for them as well. Right now, they'll get the start on the 44-yard line of Michigan. So I know they're not trying to get field goals at this point, but they just need one first down and they're in field goal range, and then one or two big plays and they're in the end zone. Michigan did not do what they needed to do to shut the door in this game. I said kill clock, get good field position. They did the exact opposite. Only took about 2 minutes off the clock, and Iowa has the ball back on Michigan's territory.
I want to throw it back, too, to something that you and I both mentioned in the pregame show today, and that's J.J. McCarthy's inability to feel pressure from his blind spots.
Yeah.
It was coming from the blind spot on that last drive. One Hawkeye ran free, and it almost ended in catastrophe for Michigan. If Iowa would have scored there, that defense gets that reputation right back for scoring big touchdowns.
Yeah. And then also beyond that reputation, the whole game's in flux at that point. It would be 20-7. It's a 13-point game. You could get 2 drives to potential 2 plays even on defense, and that's all you need. Iowa has what needs to be done to come back and win on defense if that play is scooped and scored.
Michigan and Iowa duking it out here from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Media timeout, less than a minute to go for Michigan and Iowa retake the field again. Michigan's defense is going to have to step up big time now as Iowa's got it in great field position. As they retake the field before they huddle up. And Iowa, Adam, their slow pace certainly does not help their cause as we near the fourth quarter in this ball game.
No, it does not. And they're going to need some big plays, maybe to the tight ends. That's what we've seen success on offense for Iowa so far. Yet to get any points, but when they've moved the chains and moved the ball down the field, it's come from their tight ends. And I think it comes down to Petrus. He's left a lot to be desired for Hawkeye fans, especially today so far. He could turn that around on this drive. 2 minutes, 33 seconds left here in the third quarter.
This is now the furthest that Iowa's had it inside Michigan territory. 44-yard line, 2 tight ends set. Turns, hands off Caleb Johnson. Makes one defender miss, spins over another. He picks up a sizable gain on first down. From the Michigan 44 down to the 38. We'll call it 6. Saying we're still on the stop for Michigan. Iowa going through their progression in the huddle just a little bit faster now. 2 minutes to play in the third quarter, Michigan by 20. Petrus, hands off. Johnson met at the 35. Short of the first down marker by a yard. Jenkins and Graham are right there for Michigan.
Going to be a crucial 3rd and 1. You got to think they go for it on this this play if they're unable to make it. And it's on that cusp too, where it's not even a given field goal, as if they even would want field goals at this point in the game.
The sophomore back, LaShawn Williams, checks in. He's the deep back in the I formation behind Potabom. Petrus fakes the handoff, takes a shot to Potabom, wide open down the sideline. He's got it at the 20, and he's brought down by Turner at the 18.
Going to get another set of drives in the red zone for the first time today. And Iowa has their best chance so far to get points on the board.
It was a wobbly pass from Petrus that landed right into the basket of the 6'1", 244-pound senior from Iowa, the fullback Potabom. The Ohio native Johnson is the back for the Hawkeyes. Off the left hip of Petrus. Gets the snap, wants to throw. Fires towards the end zone, incomplete, almost intercepted again. Nico Reganey had it fall right through his hands, and in coverage, DJ Turner.
I'm kind of surprised to see them passing at this point. Say mix it up more with the rushing, at least add some legitimacy to your ground game. Only 31 yards so far on the ground for the Hawkeyes.
When Iowa's had a run on first down, their stretch of 3 plays has been much more successful compared to when they throw on first down. 10 on the play clock. Johnson, the deep lone setback. Got a guy going in motion. Petrus will throw. Fires into the open flat for Reganey to the 10-yard line. Stutter steps inside the 5. He's got an Iowa first down, but Junior Colson was able to take him to the turf.
Huge shot by Colson to stop 7 there, but there is a flag on the field.
This one's coming back, isn't it?
I have that feeling. We've seen a lot of plays get negated by the refs, especially for Iowa this game.
It's a long conversation here. A number of different officials, including the head referee, Mark Kluzinski. Iowa's offense is coming back.
So they're saying unnecessary roughness.
That's the center, Logan Jones, for a second time today. Let's see where the unnecessary roughness was. Well after the play was about 15 yards down the field, and he just kept pushing his defensive lineman well after the play was over. That'll draw boos, but that's a penalty all day, Kinnick Stadium. Can't do that. Second down and 25.
Yeah, negate the first down and actually bring him out of the red zone too. So I just mentioned how Iowa was in the red zone for the first time. Did not last long.
In Iowa, they also used their first time out. Logan Jones, the center, who is the guilty party, is still out there having a long conversation with our officials. That's the center judge, Amanda Sauer, who made the call. The lone female referee on the crew today. And we've seen plenty of female referees this season, Adam.
Yeah, been a good mix, especially in the Big Ten. That's really tough for Iowa because not only does it take you out of the red zone, kill your field position, but also it negates that first down that would have been first and goal for the Hawkeyes.
Iowa likely with 7 points.
A chorus of boos ring out. Directed at the referees in this one.
Some stuff being thrown down to the field too on the far sideline. Well, that pushes Iowa well behind the sticks. Second down and 25 yards to go. Petrus in the shotgun. Caleb Johnson is back. It's a quick throw to the left side. He picks up a block and he's brought down from behind. Arland Bruce on the reception. The leading receiver for Iowa on the season. Ball placed at the 30-yard line. Brought down by Mozzie Smith. How about the big man Smith getting out there to make a tackle on the perimeter?
You love to see it. I know it's like second and 25 there, but you don't want these plays to blow up. We saw it last week against Maryland. It was second and long, and Maryland able to cut through and get a first down.
Black and gold uniforms for the Hawkeyes. They look a lot like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Petrus from the shotgun, no pressure from Michigan. Throws right sideline, got it complete. Reganey inside the 5, dives, pylon, touchdown Iowa.
That snap.
Now hold on, the officials mark him out just shy. He's going to be inside the 5, but Iowa's going to have to earn it now. Man, that's a breakdown in coverage for Michigan.
Yeah, that snap just barely got off before the end of the third quarter. So as we go into the fourth, Iowa will take it on the 2-yard line. Michigan just Gave up one moment too early, one play too early before the intermission.
That's Mike Sainristil, who's been so good for Michigan this season. He was the one trying to cover Nico Reganey in this game. Just got that much more interesting, Adam. 3rd down and 22. Michigan's defense proves a little bit faulty.
Yeah, just one play there, one blown coverage. Iowa exploited it. Not quite for 7, but gets it as close as you pretty much could get on the 2-yard line.
That brings us to the end of the 3rd quarter. 15 minutes to play. Michigan in front 20-0 from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. But Iowa, right on the doorstep of the maize and blue, they'll have it inside the 5 when we resume play. The Hawkeyes moving the ball truly for the first time today.
So going to be a long quarter for the Hawkeyes if they want to come back and win this. Going to need a very quick touchdown here, followed by a defensive stop or even points on defense and a turnover. And then 2 more touchdowns just to tie this up. Fans are not happy with the referees, booing them and showing them some friendly gestures as they run to the other side of the field.
Here's the Hawkeyes' chance right here.
Yes, it is.
You've had to fight through penalties. You've had to fight through the offense, struggling just in general. But now we've made it to the 4th quarter, a place where historically Iowa has shined. The Hawkeyes still have a chance in this football game. Michigan, they're going to have to do all they can to put the Hawkeyes away. They've had no success on offense today. And right before the 3rd quarter ends, Iowa picks up a 3rd down and 22 on a connection from Petrus to Reganey, beating Michigan's talented nickelback, Mike Sainristil. And the Hawks have a chance to cut into this Michigan lead right now.
Sainristil had a great game last week. Relatively good game today prior to that last play. None other than 7 Nation Army blasting over the loudspeakers in Kinnick adds a jolt of energy to this crowd that has largely been silenced since the first half, pretty much.
How good would it be to see Michigan's 11 men on defense right here be stone cold and brick away Iowa's offense from scoring a touchdown? Because you can bet if Iowa gets into a 4th down situation without penalties, they're going to go for this thing.
Going to be tough. It's 1st and goal on the 2, so they have 3 and, as you mentioned, all likelihood 4 attempts to punch it on in. But a stop would be huge for Michigan's 11.
The starting 5 linemen for Iowa await the other 6. Michigan's got their starting 11 out there in a power package on defense.
Got a let's go
Spencer
Hawks
Petrus
chance.
Asks for the Hawkeye faithful to quiet down. 10 seconds before the media timeout concludes. Right hash, 2-yard line. Michigan's got all the big bodies in there, but so does Iowa. This is where they thrive. Petrus under center. The deep back is Caleb Johnson. Turns right, hands off Johnson, trying to get the edge. Touchdown, Iowa. They're in for the first time today, and the lead is now 20-6. Michigan still in front.
Shot off the cannons after that touchdown. They've been waiting a long time to do that, and that's unfortunate for the Wolverines, but still up right now by 14. We'll see with the extra point.
Drew Stevens on to attempt the extra point for Iowa. He's perfect on the year. Caleb Johnson's 3rd touchdown of the season is a 2-yard scamper to the front corner of the end zone. Stevens' kick is up and it is pure. It's now 20-7. Michigan got to keep their heads up on that near sideline. as Iowa trying to come back and take something away from Michigan, which is an undefeated season, and that chance to recrown themselves as the Big Ten champions with their first road test of the year.
For a recap of that drive, it started very short for Iowa, able to get a couple first downs, brought out due to an unnecessary roughness penalty back to the 33 on 2nd and 25. In the closing seconds of the third quarter, Iowa able to advance it and able to punch it in on the first play of the fourth. It's now a 20-7 ball game.
And it's not just that, Adam. It seems like the momentum is kind of starting to swing.
And that's why this drive is crucial for the Wolverines. Take your time, chip away at the defense, no errors like last possession, and hang on to this win.
You score a touchdown or even a field goal on this drive, that makes it extremely hard for Iowa to come back in this ball game. With how long their offense takes to get down the field, you'd be up by 16 if you put up a field goal here. Jake Moody's got 2 today. Kick from Stevens is out of the end zone. Isaiah Gash says no thank you. And Michigan will take over from their own 25.
And this is where the crowd is going to be loud. Petrus asked the fans to quiet on down when they had possession, but they're full of energy now. They got points in the game. They're yelling. And with Michigan on offense, you know they're going to be loud.
They know they've got a chance now in this football game. Michigan in front, 20-7. Just 4 seconds into the fourth quarter. McCarthy under center. Here comes the crowd. Turns, hands off. Blake Corum can't get away from 2 defenders. A combination tackle with Herkett and Campbell. It'll bring up 2nd down and 8. They gave him 2 yards on the play, as Donovan Edwards checks into the game as the running back. That volume, Adam, went from a 0 to almost the loudest it's been all day in here. McCarthy from the shotgun. He's got the snap, throws quick to the right side. Ronnie Bell's got it, makes the catch. He's short of the first down. He had a chance to get there, but tried to put a move on his defender. Sebastian Castro brought Bell to the turf. 3rd down and 2.
Michigan is 3 for 8 on 3rd down this game. This is going to be huge. We've seen a lot of 3-and-1s. Just to keep this drive alive and avoid giving it right back to the Hawkeyes is huge.
It's a long 1 yard for JJ and the Wolverines. Blake Corum is the running back. 2 receivers split wide to the left. 2 tight ends in the formation. Honingford and Loveland. McCarthy the snap. Hands off Corum. He didn't get it. He's stuffed well behind the line. I think JJ had a chance to hold on to that football and pick up plenty of yardage at him, but it's going to bring up 4th down.
And that's what we've seen him struggle with all this season. When to hang on to it, when to hand it off, and when to pass. That skill, it just comes with experience under center. And you can tell in games like these, he's still developing that experience. They're actually going to mark that as a loss of 1. Not exactly. You mentioned it was a long 1 yard anyway. But we have the punt team back on for the 3rd punt of the game for the Michigan Wolverines.
4th down and 2. Brad Robbins in punt formation for Michigan. Good snap from Wagner. He gets it away. Not a great kick again from Robbins, but they need a good bounce. It'll take a Michigan hop. And Iowa will take over from their own 17-yard line. Mike Sainer, still the gunner, got down the field to down it. We'll enter another media timeout. 12:37 to play from Kinnick Stadium. Things starting to teeter a little bit for Michigan, in front by 13.
Exactly. And Iowa did what they needed to do, got a quick stop for the Wolverines. Taking it back, 12 minutes, 37 seconds. Unlike last drive, they have to advance all the way down the field on this one. Going to start on the 17-yard line, their own. Got pretty much the whole field to move down.
Now, Iowa's field position today has not been great. We've seen Brad Robbins have 2 different punts now that really haven't been great. That's very uncharacteristic of the graduate senior from Ohio. But as you mentioned, Adam, now Iowa, they're forced to go the whole length of the field. They're going to start at their own 17-yard line. And Spencer Petras, albeit only completing 10 of 17 passes, he's looked significantly better in the second half, including that long reception to Reganey on 2nd down and 22.
Yeah, exactly. So Petras is going to have to take things in his hands, step up, have a big comeback here. We're in Kinnick Stadium, the place where top 5 teams go to die. Michigan's number 4 headed into this one, looking to hang on to their win, up 20-7, but Iowa has the ball back.
You look back at the couple of things Michigan could have done different in this half so far, and that includes DJ Turner coming away with that interception that easily would have been a touchdown. The 3rd down and 22 on defense were really faulty coverage by Mike Sainristil. Still wasn't able to cover the senior Nico Reganey. But now they've got a chance. How can they answer this challenge that is stopping Iowa here in the 4th quarter? We know they have long, drowned-out drives. Iowa realistically might only get 1 or 2, 3 more drives in this football game.
Yeah, they have no chances for blown drives, especially if Michigan plays their hand correctly. What they could potentially do is just burn as much clock. So, frankly, I don't think Iowa should punt the rest of this game. I think it's 4th down territory, bearing maybe really deep field position, but Iowa's going to need to play on point, pretty much perfect the rest of this game to come back and win this one.
Michigan can feel themselves falling back onto their heels just a little bit. 13-point spread. Michigan leading 20-7. Iowa fresh off scoring their first touchdown of the game, then forcing Michigan into their first 3 and out of the football game. Caleb Johnson, the deep back for Iowa. 17-yard line. He'll get the call right up the middle. Rod Moore, Jr. Colson will combine on the stop. Maybe a pickup of a yard. 2nd down and 9. That's a good stop by the Michigan defense, who's been gashed pretty well in the 3rd and 4th quarters so far through the ground.
And this is tough. The offense did them no favors. Unable to get that 1st down, bringing them back onto the field after only like 5 minutes of rest. Defense was very burnt at the end of that last drive, and they're back on the field once again.
Petras under center. Brings Laporta in motion across the formation. Fakes the handoff to Johnson. Fires to the sideline. Got a complete Reganey. He's got an Iowa 1st down. They needed the 27-yard line. He got to the 28. Pickup of 10 yards on the play. 1st down Hawkeyes. Those rollouts right now to Petras' right side are very efficient in helping them move the football.
And Michigan's just really struggled to adjust coverage in those situations.
Johnson remains the deep back. Petras drops straight from under center, throws across the middle. Got Lachey, a beautiful ball from Petras. He's not brought down quite yet, keeps chugging those legs to the 38-yard line of Michigan. R.J. Moten was the last man in defense for the Wolverines, and he was able to tear him to the turf. Here comes Iowa, Adam.
2 big plays in the air from Petras, able to move the chains both times. And Iowa's back in Michigan's territory, only took about 1 minute of game clock.
Spencer Petras under center, 2 tight ends set for the Hawkeyes. Johnson remains the deep back. Reganey in motion. Fakes the handoff to Johnson. Petras dumps it to the right side, and he's tackled right away by Jay Harrell. The Michigan edge rusher drops back in coverage. Pickup of 4 yards on 1st down. 2nd and 6.
So another small gain, not quite as big as the previous 2 plays, but Petrus is locked in. 3 straight completions, moving the ball efficiently. And Michigan's defense, you said this earlier, they're playing on their back foot.
Iowa right now able to run pretty much whatever they want. This is their playbook. 2nd down and 6. Johnson still the deep back. Laporta in motion. Here's a handoff to Johnson. He gets away from a defender, but Jalen Harrell's right there to tear him down. Nice stop by Big 32. No pickup.
They're actually going to rule it a loss of 1 there, so 3rd and 7
now.
This is a big play. You got to think they'd go for it regardless on 4th, but at least if you can't get a 1st down, make it more manageable.
Spencer Petrus barking out signals. 3 receivers wide to the right. LaShawn Williams now brought into the backfield. Petrus, hands off, Williams into the Michigan secondary, crosses the 20, got the 1st down.
He needed 7, he got 8, keeps the chains moving, and Iowa's rolling down this field.
He went right by Mozzie Smith, who had a chance at a weak arm tackle, as Mozzie trots off the field. 9:20 to play, Michigan by 13. Momentum fully on the side of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Another 2 tight end set, 1 deep back is Caleb Johnson. Fakes the handoff to him. Petrus back to the left side. Almost brought down by Moten, but there goes Laporta. He got away from Mike Morris and R.J. Moten. DJ Turner is injured on the turf far sideline. Man, oh man, that was a big chance for R.J. Moten to bring him down for a loss.
It was a screen pass in the backfield. Would have been a loss of 6 and 7. Almost had him, but just unable to finish the job. Sheer size, able to stay on his feet.
That's a big loss for Michigan if DJ Turner was unable to continue. DJ Turner on the far sideline, dealing with Michigan's training staff. Well, the Let's Go Hawks chant rains down on Kinnick Stadium here in Iowa City. 8:56 to play, 4th quarter. Michigan in front 20-7. But Iowa, they're driving inside Michigan territory right now. They're gonna have the ball, 2nd down and 4 from the 19-yard line. DJ Turner able to run off the field, seemingly healthy, with Philip Johnson right behind him, the Michigan trainer.
That's good to see him at least back on his feet, exiting on his own power. That would be a huge loss for Michigan for next week and the rest of this week, honestly, too.
Still plenty of time on the media timeout, about 1:45. But Iowa's last 2 drives have been superb, truly. 7 minutes on that long touchdown drive.
Yeah.
And right now, they're moving down the field at a much quicker pace. Something we haven't seen them do today.
I'm looking at the drive chart for Iowa. We got punt, 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 end of half, punt, punt, and then a touchdown, and then another big drive here. So they have just flipped the switch, and the opposite for Michigan. Touchdown, had a punt, field goal, touchdown, but then 2 straight punts.
The Michigan's had not great starting field position on really any of their drives. The best field position they've gotten is their own 33. For Iowa, they took over at the Michigan 44 on their touchdown drive. They had the ball at their own 17-yard line to begin this one right here. But now they've got to convert. They've got to punch it in for the Hawkeyes' sake. And it's going to be 2nd down and 3 from the 19-yard line. 8:56 to play from Kinnick Stadium with the momentum fully on the side of the home team.
Yeah, Michigan still in the lead by commanding 13 points, but I was driving practically in the red zone at this point. Correction, they actually are in the red zone by 1 yard on the 19-yard line. And a score here makes it a one-possession game.
And what's even scarier is if Iowa's able to score a touchdown plus the extra point, they're only down 6. Petrus from under center, turns right, hands off to Johnson. Michigan's defensive line swarms Johnson. Pickup of maybe half a yard. But the defensive backs, they were able to shoot right through the secondary. Rod Moore, the first one there. 3rd down and 3. Here you go, Adam. 2 big plays.
Yes. It's 4th down territory here. So it's going to be 3rd and short and then potentially a 4th and short. Michigan needs to step up now.
Who wants to step up? Who wants to make a play? 2 tight ends set for Iowa. Turns, hands off. LaShawn Williams got the first down past the 15-yard line. He dives to the 14. Junior Colson made the tackle for Michigan. Only one more first down to get before it becomes first down and goal.
Hawkeyes are lined up on Michigan's 14 here. Just keep steamrolling Michigan's defense. They're burnt and exhausted right now.
Under 8 minutes to play. Spencer Petrus now in the shotgun. LaShawn Williams offset to his left. Fakes the handoff, throws out to the left sideline. There's Reganey, lowers his shoulder into Rod Moore. And Rod Moore is able to push him out of bounds at the 8-yard line. 6 yards on the play, 2nd down and 4. And Iowa, another efficient first down play.
Absolutely. Keeping the ball moving in the air, on the grounds, exploiting Michigan's weakness, especially with these cross-field routes. Michigan just has no answer for it.
Michigan's offense has only had the ball for 2.5 minutes in the last 15 minutes of play. Petrus rolls out, looking for a receiver, throws it to Laporta. He's dumped to the ground by Rod Moore. Nice play by the Michigan sophomore, and that brings up 3rd down and 6 yards to go.
And that was just a great job hanging on to the ball. The hit was so bang, bang, I thought he might lose it.
He got jarred up.
Yeah, he was able to hang on to it, ended up not being a gain of anything, but.
That clock certainly starting to become a factor. Keep your eye on it. 6 minutes, 30 seconds to play. 3rd down and 4. Spencer Petrus walks up to the line of scrimmage. 3 receivers to the right. Reganey now in motion, wide left. He joins another. The back is Williams. He's got the call, dives to the 7. He's well short of the first down. Iowa's going to need 3 on 4th down, Adam, and here we go.
This is a play. This is the game right here. 4th and 2, they're going for it.
Michael Barrett makes the tackle for Michigan. Petrus and the Iowa offense asking fans to quiet down. The Michigan section right in front of us doing all they can to make it sound like the big house. One-on-one coverage on the outside for Jamon Green and Reganey. Petrus rolls out left side, throws Laporta, but he's short. There's a flag down in the secondary, and it might go against Michigan.
The whole stadium, 69,000+ fans, silent, hearing what the ruling is. If it's on Iowa, game over. It's on Michigan.
Not quite game over.
A breath of life.
Michigan's good. Jamon Green gives us a thumbs up. And this might be pass interference on the home team.
He did have quite a bit of opening. I'm surprised he just couldn't get the first down there with that much space.
That might be an illegal pick, I believe, on Arland Bruce, who was the receiver, not Nico Reganey. Long conversation between the officials.
There it is, pass interference on the offense. And Michigan is safe, at least for now. They're going to retake possession on their own 5-yard line. So not quite over yet, but a sigh of relief.
You're doing your best
Ann
to jinx
Arbor.
us. All the time. You're always doing your best to jinx us.
And with that ruling, fans are streaming for the exits. You could just see the gold and black going back to the concourse right now. think they see the writing on the wall.
They still need 2 touchdowns, and with how long Iowa has possessed the football. And I'll tell you what, Adam, I'm looking up to see what exactly that call is. It wouldn't have mattered. Laporta was well short of the marker, but it was offensive pass interference on their leading receiver, Arlen Bruce.
I know.
And nothing for me.
Pundits this whole week are going to be talking about how active the referees were in this game. I already see them on Twitter saying that they're handing the game to Michigan, but that last call doesn't add anything to that. But
and especially since it was declined. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
5 penalties, 59 yards for the Hawkeyes. 4 penalties, 35 yards for Michigan.
Michigan takes over, leading 20-7 with 5 minutes, 41 seconds. Have 95 yards to go, but honestly at this point, points are not the biggest concern for the Wolverines. Just burning as much clock as they can.
Thanks to U.S. Bank for their support. U.S. Bank, helping businesses grow.
As we near the 2 o'clock hour from Iowa City. We've had a quick football game. We've had a game that's at one point not quite a blowout, but nearing the territory of a blowout, turning it into a game where Michigan fans, I still have my breath held up inside of me because I know how good this Iowa defense is. All it takes is getting that ball out, one peanut punch in this game. It's changed. 5:41 to play. Michigan's going to have it, leading by 13 points. Their hosts, the Iowa Hawkeyes. The alarm went off, and they have awoken halfway through the third quarter following J.J. McCarthy's touchdown pass to Donovan Edwards. We knew it was going to be a dogfight from Kinnick Stadium. Michigan's got to prove that they're the alpha in this situation. J.J. from the shotgun, Corum to his left. Calls for a snap, gets it, hands off Blake. He crosses the 5, and he spins his way to the 7. Kayvon Merriweather makes the stop. He attended Belleville High School just down the road from Ann Arbor. Defensive captain for the Hawkeyes.
Corum has now broken 100 yards rushing in this game. 25 attempts, averaging 4.2 each rush.
30 attempts a week ago, 243 yards for the junior back out of Virginia. 2 tight ends in the set for the Maize and Blue. From the 7-yard line, 2nd down and 8 right hash. Another handoff, Blake Corum. He's tripped up by his own man, Luke Schoonmaker. Some pushing and shoving after the play between Wolverines and Hawkeyes.
You see Michigan using the entirety of the play clock on that last play, and likely to do the same right here. It's going to be 3rd and 7.
Just keep milking down that clock. There's 20 seconds left on it. 3rd down and 7 from the Michigan 8. 3 receivers in the set from left to right. It's Bell and A.J. Henning on the left. Cornelius Johnson alone to the right. Schoonmaker splits out now as a receiver to the left side. McCarthy gets a low snap. He's going to throw it. Steps up, fires right sideline. Well incomplete. He wanted Johnson miscommunication on the behalf of both of those. I would have kept it on the ground there. Brings up 4th down and 7. Clock stops for the time being.
Yeah, keep it on the ground. Get the clock moving. Take at least another 30 seconds off. Bring it under 4 minutes. And when you punt it, and at least if you keep it on the ground, you might even get a 1st down.
And really, what have we said about Iowa in that field position?
Yeah.
They've won the field position battle here in the second half. And Arlen Bruce, a dangerous return man, stands right near his own logo.
Robbins has struggled a little bit on punts.
In his own end zone. Gets the snap, kicks it away, almost pressured. Bruce will take it from the 40-yard line. Michigan's pressure is down there. He keeps his footing, gets a block to the 42. Michigan's got 2 injured players down on the field, and one of them is special teams ace Caden Colasar, and long snapper William Wagner is the other.
So that took 10 seconds off the play. You hear the PA announcer announcing Velazquez with the eventual tackle, the two-sport athlete.
Caden Colasar is one of the vocal leaders on the team and is the vocal leader for the special teams unit, as Brad Robbins and Jake Moody make their way over and then head back to the sideline to check on Caden. Father played at Michigan. Caden joins the team as a walk-on, recruited out of Ohio. 5'10", 195-pound senior from Westlake, Ohio. So Greg Tarr, the native of Romeo High School in Michigan, gets loose on the near sideline in case Michigan needs a new long snapper. Iowa will have the football at a good position. Their own 42-yard line as Colasar tries to walk off, which looks like a lower leg injury. Now, to be quite frank, Adam, I think Arlen Bruce got him.
Yeah.
He made a move, almost went down to a knee, and made one cut on Colasar, and I think it kind of got the ankles.
So Iowa down 13, 2 possessions. Going to have to drive 57 yards just to get to the end zone. And then not only that, they need a stop and then another drive, all in the span of 4 minutes. Michigan hasn't done what it takes to put this game away, but
got
it's
a chance
still
to do it here.
firmly in their control. Yes, absolutely.
If Michigan gets the ball back in any way, shape, or form here, you can feel, I'd say, pretty good about this football game. 4 minutes, 1 second to play from Kinnick Stadium here in Iowa City. A beautiful venue with beautiful fans. We've been very welcomed. We stayed last night in Davenport, which is about 45 minutes with no traffic outside of Iowa on the east side of the state. And made the drive through the beautiful campus here at the University of Iowa. I promise you folks, it's not all corn.
There's a lot of corn, though.
There is a lot of corn here.
We looked out our window at the hotel room
Corn.
in Davenport. Miles of corn.
And the Mississippi.
And the Mississippi, yes.
4 minutes, 1 second to play. Michigan in front by 13. Petrus from the shotgun, gets a shotgun snap. Here comes pressure, and he's brought down. Mike Morris got him. Back at the 33-yard line, his second sack of the second half. That's big-time stuff by big number 90.
That's the play Michigan needed to start this drive. Not only bought them a couple of yards, bought them 9 yards, but also keeps the clock moving.
Man, Connor Colby completely missed his assignment. Mike Morris ran right after the quarterback. Looked like an awkward play overall. Petrus from the gun. Here comes Morris again. Dumps it off incomplete. Wanted LaShawn Williams. Iowa student section now tossing some stuff down to the field. They're frustrated with Spencer Petrus. Boy, he got hit hard again by Morris.
Yeah. Ooh, I see that.
Here you go,
replay.
right here.
It was a bang-bang play. Got the ball out just barely, but then hit the deck. 3rd and 19. This might be it.
The Wolverine fans that are here trying to make the most noise they can to play a role. Petrus drops. Here comes pressure. Petrus hit. Petrus sacked.
Michigan's defense, after a little bit of rest, finally doing what they need to do to nearly put this one away. It's going to be 4th and 24 now.
Yabi Oki had him in the bear trap of his grasp. And Taylor Upshaw finished him off. Here come the Let's Go Blue chants.
Yeah.
This is going to be it right here. Clock churning, under 2 minutes, 50 seconds. 4th down and 24 in Iowa's offense. A little too conservative with the game clock right now. This is it, by all means. This is the ball game right here. Petrus from the shotgun, drops to throw. Here comes pressure from Michigan. Yabi Oki right into his hip pocket. Come home, boys. What a win here in Iowa City.
Finally broke the curse of the top 5 team in Kinnick. And it looks like this will be it. Michigan preparing to take a knee. Iowa does have 2 timeouts. I'm curious to see if they use them here.
Michigan will have it, first down and 10 from the Iowa 28. That's darn right. It is great to beat one of those Michigan Wolverines, ain't it, Adam?
Yes, it is, especially as they prepare to be 5-0 in the next 2.5 minutes.
Just don't turn the ball over now. McCarthy turns right, hands off Blake Corum to the boundary. Skips his way to the 25. He keeps moving, man, doesn't he? A gang of tacklers for Iowa led by Jack Campbell. That clock moves, and there is nothing from the Iowa sideline. Lots of debris falls onto the field from the Iowa student section. They're very unhappy with the play of their quarterback, Spencer Petras, the play calling of Brian Ferentz, and perhaps the direction of the program under his father, Kirk. Under 1:45. Second down and 6 right hash. McCarthy under center. Barking out signals. Looks to the sideline. 0 seconds on the play clock. Michigan calls their second timeout of the second half.
So going to be a quick 30-second, no media timeout here. Iowa yet to use theirs. And they're playing Mr. Brightside for the Michigan fans in attendance. Whoever's on aux has to know what they're doing by playing this one this late in the game.
Man, they've let the aux go into the hands of a Michigan man, I think. 7 Nation Army, pump it up, straightening before the game.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Migos, Atlanta. And now Mr. Brightside.
So finally that media timeout wraps up. Michigan prepares to finish out this game.
McCarthy under center on 2nd and 6, turns left, hand off, Blake Corum. Gets to the edge, makes a cut at the 25, and he's wrestled to the ground near the 20.
Intentionally stayed in bounds on that one.
Well done, Blake Corum.
It's a big brain, 200 IQ move.
Ethan Herkett brings Corum to the turf.
And Iowa uses their timeout there, so I guess answering my question from earlier, each team down to their last timeout. Another 30-second timeout here. Gonna be a fun road trip back for us at WCBN and a fun road trip, or I guess plane trip back.
What are you thinking
for the football team?
Late lunch.
Late lunch, exactly.
Michigan goes scoreless in 1 quarter. It's this here 4th quarter. Unless they're able to muster something here against Iowa's very stout defense, leading by 13, 1:26 to play. Student section completely emptied. McCarthy under center, turns right. A stretch handoff for Blake Corum, makes one man miss. 15, 10, 5. Say it with me, folks. Touchdown, Michigan! The Wolverines will walk away from Kinnick Stadium with a 5-0 unblemished record.
I might be old school, but I would have taken a knee at a 1 there. You see this in like fantasy and pro football about whether they should get the points or go out of bounds. If it were me, I would have gone down after getting the 2. I know Corum is trying to get his Heisman candidacy kick-started, but regardless, this game is over.
Big-time stuff from a potential Heisman candidate. Jake Moody puts the extra one through. Michigan, just for fun, moves the score to 27-7 over the Iowa Hawkeyes as the stripe out completely hits the exits here in Iowa City. Well, we'll sit in the traffic will deal with the 7.5-hour ride home, but it's going to be an enjoyed one.
Yes, it will. And the team is going to take their private jet back to, are they in Detroit or Ann Arbor Jetport today?
I'm sure they'll go back to Detroit.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit longer of a flight.
Met with a
Bring out
hero's
that
welcome
studio.
by the Michigan State Troopers at DTW.
I'm sure those guys will be happy to see him with their winged helmets.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
And then cruising down 94 at Ann Arbor, I'm sure everyone will happily pull over and cheer on the maize and blue.
What a win today for Michigan. How about that? A 20-point lead. It's 27-7 over the Iowa Hawkeyes, and there are just shades of the Iowa faithful that are still here in attendance as Jake Moody lines it up from the 35. I mean, how do you do, Adam? That's a big-time cut by Blake Corum, number one, and performance by Michigan after the fight back from the Hawkeyes in the third and fourth quarter. Through the end zone it goes, 1st and 10, Iowa from the 25.
I still hold he should have gone down right there.
You think that's maybe a stab back at what Iowa did right before the halftime with the reverse in the victory formation?
I'm never gonna criticize a team that's behind from trying to mix things up and get a kickstart. I will get mad at a team that's ahead from pounding down on it, especially right there. We'd be on our way back to the garage right now, but I guess Corum needs his Heisman stats.
Petrus drops to throw, fires across the middle, got it complete to his receiver at the 45. That's Brody Breck. Jamon Green in coverage for Michigan. Iowa moves the ball forward. Clock now runs at 1:10. Petrus remains in at quarterback. No Alex Padilla. Figured at some point we'd see the backup quarterback for Iowa, who went 10 of 15 against Michigan a year ago. Pass thrown left side, incomplete. Wanted Breck again. Spencer Petrus put on his backside by Mike Morris, and Mike Moe is a little slow to get up.
Yes, and with that, that'll be the 9th touchdown of the season for Corum. So almost to double digits, 5 games in.
We never like to see this. Any injured player. But the stature of Mike Morris, the senior outside linebacker from Tampa, Florida, with his family in attendance here today. Jim Harbaugh was 1B getting to Big Mike Moe. Looks like a cramp, yeah?
He is walking up on his own power. Cramps happen, especially in this heat, too. It's unfortunate, but I hope
you couldn't
he'll
have
be okay.
asked for a better day for football.
No, you could not. Absolutely beautiful.
The yardage totals in this ball game is a lot closer than maybe one would think. Michigan outgaining Iowa 329 to 240.
I guess so much of that was just Iowa getting snubbed on the 4th down there. They drove it all the way down the field and just unable to punch it in. But, yeah, you're absolutely correct.
LaShawn Williams is the back for the Hawkeyes. Fires across the middle, does Petrus. There's Alec Wick, his first reception of the day, the hometown kid from Iowa City. Inside Michigan territory now to the 39-yard line.
Michigan defense just playing prevent at this point. They're fine giving up these 20-yard gains, 15-yard gains. Just don't want to give up any touchdowns.
Here comes Petrus from the shotgun. Fires to the left sideline. It's incomplete. Regainey had it, then he dropped it. Mike Sainer still was right there. There's a penalty flag down in the backfield, and I think this is going to go against Taylor Upshaw and Michigan. Roughing the passer against Michigan's outside linebacker, number 91, Taylor Upshaw.
36 seconds left. Michigan just trying to crawl to that 0-0.
Man, if Michigan did not score that last touchdown, a bunch of people might be sweating right now.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess with that last touchdown, they also could have just taken the knee on the 2 if he would have gone down.
For those people, our friends over in Vegas, I'm sure they would be thinking about that a little bit more. Here comes the house on Petrus across the middle. Complete Will Johnson barely brings Lachey to the turf. Another nice pitch and catch from Petrus to the 5-yard line. And Iowa's knocking on the door. Under 30 seconds to play from Iowa City.
Clock is ticking. Staying in bound this whole possession, besides that one injury stoppage.
And well, the 20 to 30,000 that are still here. A couple of Yankee cheers if Iowa's able to put this one in. Throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Iowa. There's the tight end, Luke Lachey. Petrus has his first touchdown pass of the game and just his second of the season, which now evens his total with interceptions 2-2. That touchdown all for fun. 8 seconds to play in the ball game. Michigan has got this one wrapped up.
Yes, they do. But plays like this are why you should probably go down when you get the first down. I'm still harping on that. 8 seconds left. This game is over, though.
A bad snap. Good hold, though, by Torrey Taylor, the punter. And the kick is up and good by Stevens.
Do you think Iowa attempts onside here?
Why not?
8 seconds left. Even if they recover the onside, they'd need 2 touchdowns in 8 seconds. Yeah, it's, I guess, mathematically possible, but very improbable to have this comeback.
Well, Michigan needed to lean on their defense halfway through the fourth quarter, with Iowa breathing down their neck. And Michigan's going to come away with their 5th victory of the season, remain undefeated, and walk away from an incredible atmosphere here at Kinnick Stadium. But the Wolverines were able to turn down the volume on the 69,000 plus capacity crowd in their annual stripe out from the get-go. That first drive, touchdown, beautifully put together by Sharon Moore, Matt Weiss, and Jim Harbaugh. And a 7-0 early lead ended up being too much to overcome for the Hawkeyes.
Yes, it was. Finally found their groove, but it was just too little too late.
Well, A.J. Henning stands all alone, deep inside Michigan territory. Drew Stevens lines it up as if he's going to kick this one deep, but we'd expect the hands team to get a shot here. It's a squib kick. Michigan will have to retreat in coverage, and it's Cornelius Johnson who makes the catch back at the Michigan 24. It's a nice track by number 6, who did not have much action today.
So 6 seconds left. Just one quick touch of the knee onto the AstroTurf. And this game is good, and the team could start boarding the jet back to Ann Arbor. It's always tough going to Kinnick. Might not have been pretty at times, but a win's a win. Michigan's 5-0, undefeated as they prepare to go to Bloomington next week before a really tough stretch of Penn State, bye week, and then Michigan State. That Michigan State might not be as tough.
There's the snap to J.J. McCarthy. He bows his head to Ronnie Bell after high-fiving his 2 backs today, Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum. And that's going to do it. 4 zeros on the clock. The 2 teams will meet at midfield to say job well done, but job better done today by the visiting Michigan Wolverines. They conquer the atmosphere. That is the stripe out at Kinnick Stadium. Michigan's first victory against the Hawkeyes on the road since 2005. Go sing the fight song in the locker room, boys, and have a good trip to Bloomington next weekend. Final score, Michigan 27, Iowa 14 from Iowa City. Adam, Michigan put together an incredible game script today from the start. They outgained Iowa 327 to 281. I want to shout out your MVP today. Who got it done for Michigan, whether offense or defense?
Let me put it to Blake Corum. His stat line wasn't particularly impressive, especially compared to last week. But watching this game, he had 133 yards and a touchdown in the garbage time.
Just one carry short of what his total was last week.
Yeah, but when Michigan needed to move the chains, who'd they rely on? Corum. Late in the game, when they needed that first down, who'd they rely on? Corum. So he's well on his way to at least a Heisman invitation in New York, assuming he doesn't get injured like he did last year. But he's having a season he won't forget and really boosting his NFL stock.
I would say it's a combined performance as well between Blake Corum and that talented offensive line that we hear all about. In the first half, it was all Michigan's offensive line pushing against Iowa's defense. 4 receptions apiece for Luke Schoonmaker, Roman Wilson, and Donovan Edwards. And boy, oh boy, how good was it to have Donovan Edwards back in the backfield today.
Yes.
And he was able to spell Blake Corum. And Michigan, they don't turn the ball over. So special today for Michigan.
It was a special one back. Edwards, you could see that Harbaugh was a little bit reluctant, throwing him right into the deep end, building up his plays. But next week he should be good to go against the Hoosiers.
Number one thing from Michigan you'd like to see improve before their trip to Bloomington for Indiana's homecoming?
There's a couple of small things. No glaring holes that I think they need to improve. What I think they might want to do is on defense is make sure they are able to finish out. Like we saw today, they had a shutout into the 5th second of the 4th quarter and just unable to finish. Beyond that, on offense, JJ's decision-making, I've discussed this earlier. He needs to make good decisions on the reads, on who to go with, on if the pocket doesn't clear like he wants it to, where does he go? Does he step back and try and hang on to it himself? Does he throw it to maybe the second or third option? Or does he just try and wait a couple more seconds, potentially risk a sack, but just hope his man opens? And that's stuff that you develop when you get more experience as a starter. I have full faith that by Michigan State, by Penn State, by Ohio State especially, he'll have that experience. But early in the season, there's certainly some room for improvement.
They knew Iowa's defense was a major test this week. Michigan comes into Kinnick Stadium and beats the Iowa Hawkeyes by a final score of 27-14 here in Iowa City. Michigan travels to Bloomington next weekend to take on what is right now a struggling Indiana Hoosiers program. J.J. McCarthy's final stat line today, 18 of 24, 155 and a score. But Michigan, a happy plane ride home, another week spent at Schembechler Hall. Signing off on WCBN's coverage of Michigan football, my name's Zach Linfield. A beautiful job done by Kelin, Flynn in the first half, and of course, Adam Bressler here in the second. With that, we leave you with the final score, Michigan 27, Iowa 14. Prayers for us on the drive home, and we'll send you off with it's always great to be a Michigan Wolverine, and of course, go Blue.